Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Welcome then to race number 31 here at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya for race number 31 of the AMX League for Season 3 in the GT3 Cup cars. And what a beautiful sight it is today with a modern Grand Prix facility and a rather interesting car and track combo because it is already seen before IRL. So, a bit of a difference here today. I'll be doing the top of the show, but it's the usual, my partner in crime, who's now back in Singapore because we did it together last time, but it's me, Amir, alongside me, Wei Han. Wei Han, how are you doing this fine morning?
Yeah, it's great morning here in Singapore. I'm finally back home. I hope you're doing well as well, Amir, and I hope all the drivers are doing well as well because we are in for quite a treat when we're taking the Porsche 911 Cup cars racing at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. So it's not exactly the easiest of places. It's going to be quite a unique racing experience, and I think I'm really looking forward to seeing all the drivers take on the track this morning.
Yep, certainly though, especially given the fact that the complexities of the circuit is up there, especially in that final sector where we're going to go through using the Grand Prix layout, which is what the F1 cars normally use, and of course the fast flowing first sectors. But we got a preview of what's to come. We'll go for the overview of what's to come. As what Reed would say, it is the housekeeping, but I like to call it the formalities first of what we are going for in Season 3. We go from the 20th of September all the way to the 17th with a total prize pool of $25,000 with a variety of track and car combos, and the usual first with a 15-minute qualifying session. Then we flip the script, turn it on its head. The top 15 reverse grid then will be used for the first race, where guys who qualified 15th will be on pole position, and so on, with the exact same thing in race number 2, where 15th gets pole position. Driver cams, an extra $1 will be for AMX 0, but $10 for AMX 10 it'll be required. So that is the incentive for the drivers here today, with an extra balance of $100 paid out each month. And races are held on Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. You can sign up anytime at amxrace.com. Up next is the scheduling for the races itself. For the guys in the Eastern Standard Time side of things, it'll be 6:50 p.m. on Wednesday here right now for AMX 0. So it'll be late evening for the American guys, or Americas for that matter, because we also got drivers from Argentina and Mexico here today. On Saturday, it'll be 11:50 a.m. and it'll be the same on Sunday, with 10 coming about an hour and 10 minutes later on after that. So 8:20, 1:20 p.m. for both races in that instance. Then on the Central Eastern Time then, or Central European Time, my apologies, 12:50 a.m. on the Thursday, which is a bit late into the night, but for some of these guys, it might be worth getting a few extra dollars along the way. 5:50 p.m. on Saturday and 5:50 p.m. on Sunday for the AMX 0 boys. And you can see below there, AMX 10 comes a bit later as well, 2:20 a.m. and 7:20 p.m. on that particular instance. And next up is what these guys are racing for. And you can see there, even if you have a bit of a middling qualifying session, you can still get a couple of extra dollars here, but $7 for the pole position before getting into the top 15 reverse grid, where $7 are on the line if you were to win it. And of course, heat number 2 will be the exact same thing. So across the board, the winner can get about $21 with an extra $1 in hand if you get your camera on for the broadcast team to see. And the grand prize at the end of the season for those drivers who have excelled through in AMX 0 will get an GT Lite Pro, which incidentally is the exact same rig that I won recently from the guys over at Next Level Racing when I was winning a sim racing competition. So it's a nice little rig to have, especially the fact that it's quite mobile, very light, and it's quite sturdy too. So if those drivers who want to compete in AMX 0 want to win the grand prize, this is the eyes that they had to set on. An overview of what has gone on in AMX 0 here in the top 12 is that Corentin Guinness has $337 in accumulation so far from the 24 races that he has done, and he's won half his races with that instance, because what we mean by races won is the total number of points that I've won every single round. So this is what we mean by races won. Heat races, of course, count towards that particular stat, but from the amount of races that he has done, 24, 12-1, that's a pretty good return for Corentin, who's well on his way to becoming AMX 0 champion. And a couple of the drivers behind him still challenging is Jackson Resende, and Gerardo Ramos, who are still in the shout to win the title. But when we put that into average race winnings, it is still Guinness up in front, but just a whisker above, $14 from the 24 races that he has done. Kieran Harrison, we have seen for about a quarter of the season so far. He's earned about $12.25. And Gustavo Ariel, one of the highest rated drivers in the field in AMX Zero. He's in P3 with $11.70 in his pocket. They're going all the way to Resende, who has been racing the most out of all the drivers here in this top 12 for average winnings. So then, that is the formalities of what's at play coming your way. But after that, we're going to go into what we are racing with around the circuit. And who better to give it over to than my co-commentator here from Singapore, Wei Han. Wei Han, take it away.
Yes, thanks so much, Amir. So, as we mentioned earlier on in the introduction, we are coming to Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. So, what's interesting to note is that this racetrack only opened in 1991, but already it's become a real classic. So it's hosted both auto racing as well as motor racing. So it is a track of 4.6 kilometers long, but it has among the longest main stretches of the Formula 1 Grand Prix calendar, and it also has quite an interesting style of a circuit layout, because before the layout that you see in Formula 1 racing this year, it does have quite a lot of sections, especially towards the third sector of the circuit, where you have a lot of start and stop moments with tight hairpins, as well as the final chicanes that have they're still in the iRacing service now, but they're kind of taken away in real life. So as we have a look at the car of choice that these drivers will make use of in tonight's race, the Porsche 911, 992 racing machines, of course, the best one-make series in the world, the 911 GT3 Cup cars. Well, it doesn't have traction control, it does have ABS, at least for this version. But it is quite an interesting car to drive because it's not easy, right? So we do have quite a vibrant car track combination for racing here at AMX Zero. I can't think of a better layout than this. Amir, I think like we mentioned earlier on, we are definitely in for a treat. And just looking at these Porsche cars, earlier this year, I've seen this car race in the league, and the kind of racing that these Porsche 911 Cup cars present, second to none, apart from maybe touring cars. So we definitely a lot of exciting moments that we'll look forward to here.
Absolutely, you're setting the stage quite well in that regard, and of course, we're blessed here to even have these cars at around our shows, because of course, the Porsche Carrera Cup Asia did race around Singapore as a support race for the Singapore Grand Prix, and Malaysia had the Porsche Cup cars race here during Asian Le Mans. So we're quite spoiled for choice in terms of the series that raced on, that races around our shows. But in particular, the cars themselves are actually quite a nice piece of kit. They are not as advanced aerodynamically compared to the GT3 counterpart, their brethren, but certainly packs a punch. And I think you've been inside one of these cars, have you, Wei Han?
Well, not this car in particular. I was inside the Ferrari Challenge, the Ferrari's equivalent. But still, I think it would have felt as as exciting to just even have yourself inside the car. So that's definitely interesting. Well, worth noting though, it is the Asian Le Mans Series race weekend for you guys up in Malaysia. How I wish I was there, but otherwise, yes, you're right. This car is it's so popular as well in racing in real life. Obviously you've got national series by Porsche. You've also got sometimes in various racing series that are organized by race organizers worldwide. Sometimes they have openings for drivers openings for this car as well within their own competition, within their own competition class categories as well. So there's a lot of incentive to get into Porsche Carrera Cup racing, because you get a lot of racing opportunities apart from official Porsche races. So I think that's very much the case here in Asia as well. If you go to Thailand, you see a lot of these cars racing even without the Porsche Carrera Cup. So
Yep. And
certainly great stuff indeed, Amir.
certainly, and of course, the incentive at the end of the day for these guys in the national series and regional ones is to reach the Porsche Super Cup held on the exact same tracks that F1 does. So that is what we're gonna have here for today. Porsche on a Formula 1 track. Now we're gonna head to qualifying, and the drivers are certainly now out on track here as we are on board with Caio Gaspar in one of the Tony Kanaan cars, if I'm not mistaken. No, he's actually not racing. He's not racing for Tony Kanaan. He's racing for KTM BRB Esports. But certainly, though, when we see any of those tactical cars, you know where they're from. They are a team that really means business in the sim racing world, Wei Han.
Oh, they sure are, and you know, plus the fact that they're backed by Tony Kanaan himself, one of the big names in South American motorsports as well as South American sim racing ever since he came on. No, something I love about this car is that, you know, a few unique features about this 911 Cup car. One of them being that it has a massive dashboard, a massive digital screen at the dashboard there. You don't really see any cars with such a big dashboard. And also the engine sound, it sounds so smooth, you know, especially if you compare it with a previous generation 991.2 Cup car. That's still on the iRacing service. It came out like 6 years ago and only recently just got replaced by this car last year. So as you have a look at the cars taking on the final sector of Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, it seems to me that the drivers are using the previous Grand Prix layout. That means with this chicane, so yes, the drivers will have quite a hard time because in real life racing you no longer take this chicane anymore. You just use the high-speed right-hander, sweeping right-hander behind that chicane. But nonetheless, the drivers are now on a outlap. They're now on their outlap, and they will soon be going on their timed qualifying lap times. And this is definitely the case for Caio Gaspar, who we are riding on board with. So, yeah, I think the lap times will be quite. Well, I would say they'll be quite close later on because this track is quite a fair distance, and you know, of course, when you have a longer racetrack, your lap times will be further spaced apart. But still, it'll be interesting to see later on. We do have quite a massive grid of drivers here tonight. I think we have in excess of 20-ish drivers, so that's definitely a good thing to see when we have so many drivers on the grid.
Not only that, but if you look at the live timing, there's even more than 20 drivers. I counted about 22, 23 even, so that is a big field of cars. That is something you'll love to see. Yeah, and it's due to the fact that the car and track combo just lends itself to these kind of participations because it's, of course, the Porsche Cup car is challenging, but it is quite popular. Of course, iRacing have their own Porsche Carrera Cup series, the Porsche Super Cup, I think, because it's Porsche Esports Cup, the PESC series. That is top of the draw in terms of getting people on board. But at the same time, you have these cars and a Grand Prix circuit to boot, so it's a familiar combo for everyone who has watched F1, and plus these cars do race here in the actual Porsche Super Cup. So really a sense of familiarity for all around, and that's why the grid here is swelling with drivers as we're looking at Leandro Verl coming around the final corner. Prove the number though, that's Blue Steel Racing's number 401, but of course he's not affiliated with our particular team. As he comes across the line now, we're seeing some times coming through, and it's a 48.3 for Corentin Guinness, with Verl is setting a 49 flat, so 7/10 of a second behind, but it's a good banker that way, Hun.
Yeah, and what's interesting to note perhaps is I think David Toth is one of the drivers in the Porsche Tech Heuer Esports Super Cup iRacing's World Championship Series for the road side of things, which uses this car, like you mentioned earlier on, Amir. And I think at various points as well, we've got drivers like Gustavo Ariel, who likewise races this in the World Championship Series, and a couple of other drivers as well. Of course, it does seem that we've only got one World Championship class driver, which is just David Toth himself. But otherwise, in typical sessions, we would have quite a few World Championship drivers racing amongst our ranks here at AMX. Well, maybe it's just AMX 0 now. Perhaps we'll see more of them later on in AMX 10. But still, we do have drivers who have set down their qualifying lap times. So your pole sitter is none other than Corentin Guinness with a 1:48.335, which which is definitely a fast lap time indeed. We're now with Facundo Rago, who's currently in provisional 4th position. Yes, he races for Voracious Racing, and he's one of the few drivers from Argentina who is racing here, of course, in a sea of mostly Brazilian drivers, and he's got a 5.3k iRating, which is definitely plenty fast indeed. Arago takes on the final few chicanes, and well, you know, he's just one of the plenty of fast drivers that we have here on the grid, and it's definitely great to have all these drivers here racing with us out here.
Certainly indeed, but it will take a lot to beat Corentin Guinness, who's on his way to another pole position. He's got 12 so far this season, but make no mistake, the field will try to get the best out of him in that particular instance, because Davidov from Hungary, he's only about 0.2 of a second behind. He could certainly find that time, having one of the highest iRatings among the entire field. There we go, 9.3k iRating and World Championship license. That's definitely nothing to be sneezed at. So really, really tough opposition behind Guinness, but he has shown time and time again how he's able to bring a car every single time. Different cars are on a circuit, he can still manage to land it on pole position. And case in point here, for the time being at least, in front of David Toff, Kyle Gaspar that we saw at the start of the session on board with him just earlier, and Fabrizio Belzini. So a French, a Hungarian, a Brazilian, and an Argentine in the top 4 in the first 4 positions, with a Mexican in P6. So that's another nationality to look out for there. Really diverse cast of drivers out on track here today, Wei Han.
Oh yeah, certainly. So, well, nothing short of your usual AMX flavor of things. We've always had a strong presence in South America, which is always a great thing. We've got a lot of support from drivers, and we've also got a good representation of drivers from Europe every now. Well, Europe's most of the time, and also every now and then we would have drivers from North America and Asia as well. So, because we are coming towards the halfway point of the qualifying session, and well, only half of the grid has put down their qualifying lap times. The rest of the drivers are still setting still kind of out the qualifying session, still setting their lap times. I think some drivers are probably still in the pits. So this is Paolo Warbeck, who's come around the line with a 150.514. So well, one of the great things here racing at AMX is that you do have webcams, and sometimes with the webcams on, you do kind of see things from the perspectives of the driver. You kind of see what goes on behind the digital cars in so many ways. You see, you kind of see for yourself if the drivers are having a good time or if they're under a bit of stress as they handle, you know, the challenges that come with racing. Yeah, so Morbeck is currently in 13th, and as we have a look at well, as we observe some of the other drivers who are racing, it is Jackson Resende who's set a new pole position lap time. He's just set a lap time of 148.133, so beat Guinea by quite a fair hairlines of a margin, and you have a new provisional pole sitter.
Yeah, by only about a whisker under 500ths of a second then, so the Brazilian pulled something special out of our sights. But what a lap there for Resende. There he is in the Texaco liveried Tony Kanaan car. That will be a lap that we'll be dead chuffed about, but there's still half a session left to go here, and he has to take it quite gingerly, because you do not want to overheat the tires in iRacing, because that seems to be the technique, isn't it? You need to have a very slow out lap, and you can push it for a couple of laps more on the sets of tires used for quali. But really amazing lap here out of our sights. He just does his job sometimes without us noticing. So there's a bit of an info on Resende. Texaco Esports by Tony Kanaan, 27 years old. You can follow him on his Instagram or whatever social media he uses there at his handle. And it's a nice touch as well that he also took a picture with the exact real life Texaco livery, by the looks of it, Brazilian stock car as well, Wei Han.
Yes, so, well, the drivers in Brazil, they love their motorsports, they're good with their motorsports, alright, and it's always good to see drivers from real-life racing transition into sim racing. It's also great to see real-life racing teams come into sim racing and support all the sim racers that race in the online world. It's always a great thing to see. So Resende, one of the fast drivers we have indeed, he's continuing to sit in pole, and we have a look at, this is Mateus Cavallo, who is currently in 13th, and he has a lap time set of 149.834. Let's see if he beats his previous lap time as he comes around the line with a time of
Looks like he managed to improve on that. It's a 49.7. So
okay.
Carvalho is behind his fellow countryman Pedro Mora, but pretty sure he's going to still go on for another couple of push laps, and he has every right to do so, because remember, in this particular championship, and indeed on our iRacing as well to a certain extent, once the timer runs out, you have to actually end your lap. As you can see there, not the best way to continue for Carvalho. He's slid it into the gravel trap, but away from harm. As we're looking back at Verle, yes, I think that's how you pronounce his surname, Leandro Verle, comes around the final corner then through New Holland, the alternative name for Catalunya, comes across the line now. Will it be an improvement? It takes a while to update. Yes, it is, up to P7 and a couple of extra cents for his troubles. A 48.8 with, by the looks of it, his teammate, because the exact same colors as well. Behind him, this is David Toff.
Oh yes, a beautiful Hungarian flag painted on the B pillar of that car there. Well, what's unique with this with these Porsche 911 Cup cars, as he comes around the line with a new pole position lap time of 1:47.8, which moves him up to pole position ahead of Jackson Resendi. So of course his excellent Porsche 911 car racing experience coming in there, and there we have Connie Tankine, who's retaken the pole once again. So it is kind of dead heat between these both drivers. So we will probably have to keep our eyes peeled for the next couple of laps, and we'll see if we will see if Toth will have a shot at retaking pole position. So it is definitely very much between these two drivers indeed.
Yeah, game on there between
think about this.
Guinness and Toth. Yep. Game on between
so I was just
going
to say another point with these Porsche cars. I'm so sorry, Amir. Yeah, these drivers are definitely very fast indeed. And with these Porsche cars, I'll tell you, it's very difficult sometimes to kind of push the extra millisecond out of these cars, because they are known to be very unstable. They don't have traction control, they don't have ABS, so for these drivers to squeeze out all these little milliseconds, it's a huge challenge for all these drivers. So Machado, currently in 18th, and we've got a couple of other drivers who just set down the lap times. That is Borges, who's gone up to 13th, and Machado, who is currently in 19th. We would see if once he crosses the line, we would see if he's going to be able to best his previous lap time as he comes around the final couple of corners.
Yeah, you can see that he is also using a bit of a green screen in the background. He is actually using what looks like his car when it was in the pit lane. So a nice little touch there, that he is trying to increase the immersion a bit by pretending to be on the track itself. So really nice touch from Machado. But let's see if that immersion improves his time. It does a bit. A 55.5 puts him in 18th, outside of the top 15 and the points paying positions at the moment. But no doubt he will still continue on after that, as we look at other drivers around the circuit. Andre Borges, he's P14 and second row on the grid if we flip the script on his head, of course, because he'll be right up beside Carvalho on front row of the grid with Mora right behind him. No doubt though, he still wants to improve his time here, as looks though he's got a bit of traffic for in front, and that will bog him a bit. It's one of the voracious cars, it looks like, for Kunderago, car number 5. So he's got Rago for company, and that is not the sort of thing he wants, unless close to slip through will be quite helpful. Not through the corners though, it will bog him, because these cars will become a bit cumbersome when they try to follow each other, something like this in qualifying. Of course, they can race each other well, but in qualifying it's something that you do not want to have, Wei Hun. And there goes Rago off track just to prove the points.
Yeah, well, these cars may be GT cars, but you've got to handle them as though you're driving a heavy touring car. These cars don't really take fast and unpredictable inputs that well. You have to kind of take it easy with these with these cars. You have to brake well in advance, and you can't floor your throttle along the exit, or you lose control of your car. And that's also for good reason, because Porsche uses these cars to kind of identify the best racing drivers to then race for the Porsche factory works teams in real life. So we're now with David Toth once again. So it is Connie Tankine who set a pole position lap time, but we'll see if Toth will be able to come across the line later on with a faster qualifying lap. So around the chicane at New Holland will come David Toth, and we'll see he's gone a little bit loose along the right-hander, which means that he might not have a shot at a faster qualifying lap time. And we've come towards the end of qualifying and onto the start of the race. So reverse grid is in order, but let's just go through the actual results of this qualifying kind of time attack session in so many ways. So as we await the results, well, yes, there we go. This is going to be Corey taking there who finishes first, and that means that he will start from 15th position later on in Heat 1. And David Toth comes home in second, raking himself in $5 there for AMX 0. Jackson Vicente in third, and Kyle Gaspar in fourth. Fabrizio Belziti in fifth, Facundo Rago sixth, Mateus Mercado, Leandro Vele, Mauricio Lozano, and Gaston Colavi round off your top 10 finishers in the qualifying session here at race 31. And very soon, we will be moving towards the first heat of racing here at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya.
Yep, and Guinness with his 13th pole position of the season is ridiculous. It's basically a pole every 2 races for Guinness, as we are ready now for heat number 1 here at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, and it will be a rolling start. So we're actually at where the rallycross circuit kind of starts, where they let the cars off the stops and into the first corner. That'll be the first corner for the rallycross circuit, but here this is the penultimate sector around the lap before we start the final one. As we see the grid on our screens, Carvalho on pole position in front of his fellow compatriot Guilherme Melizeu, with Pedro Moura in third and Andre Borges in fourth. So Brazilian 1, 2, 3, 4. Ramos, the best of the Europeans, in fifth, in front of Gaston Coulhavi, and then the rest of the field we see on our screens: Lozano, Verle, Mercado, and Rago, your top 10, with the top 5 in qualifying. Then behind them, Belzidi, Gaspar, Resende, Toff, and Guinness. No doubt it'll be a lot of work for them to do here from the mid-pack, with a field of, now we get confirmation here, 26 cars on the grid, Wei Han. That is an insane number, and hopefully everyone gets through the first few corners safely with these amount of cars.
Well, I certainly hope so, because with these Porsche Cup cars, it always presents an exciting style of racing, and I would kind of expect nothing less than a blistering start from these drivers as they take on the restart later on. So, yeah, well, you don't really want to do a full pace lap here, because there's a lot of braking and starting to do, and it's just great that the drivers can start from the final sector itself. Considering there's this annoying chicane that the drivers have to contend with that the Formula 1 drivers no longer have to in real life.
Yeah,
around the RACC chicane.
Yep, the fact that the chicane now has been abolished is pretty much a sight for those who are on the F1 side of things, and the fact that MotoGP have been using this for years makes it better for the racing flow. But we're gonna have to contend with it today with the Grand Prix layout, formerly for Formula 1, as the green flag flies. We're away here for race number 31, Heat 1 here of AMX 0 Season 3. We are now racing across the line here. Look at that, it's a good start for Carvalho. He gets a jump on Eliseu and Moura, the two of the technical guys right behind him, and he gets the whole shot into turn 1. Coulhavi and Borges fighting in between there, with the drivers now streaming the way through the first few corners. It looks as though, apart from a few skirmishes with the behind drivers who are lagging a bit, it was a clean start, as goes off there. One of the drivers that looks like Lozano was a bit off, and it's all kicking off here a bit because the drivers are trying to jockey for positions. Oh, and there it goes. Borges, who started in P5, into the grab trap he goes, and sent all the way to the back of the field. But I think, apart from that, it was a clear and clean start, Wei Han.
Well, certainly it was such a smooth and slick start, considering that there are so many drivers taking turn 1 together. So you have your race leader at this point, Mateus Carvalho, who's... Oh, that is Eliseu, who's gone around. He was in second place, and he's going to lose his second place by applying too much throttle on the exit of that corner, and that kind of means that Pedro Moura has gone up to second position, and Gaston Coulhavi, on the other hand, has gone up to third position. There's going to be quite a potential overtaking move right here happening. Quite a lot of battling taking place. This is side by side between Mercado and Facundo Rago, so that was an overtaking move cleaned off there. Yeah, we do have a look at some of the incidents that seems to be quite a bit of a contact between two cars there involving Borges, which caused him to lose positions at that point. So we are coming towards the end of the first lap, and we do already have some side-by-side attempts into the third sector, which is a tricky thing to do at a place like Catalonia. But as at the end of the first lap, it is Carvalho who is your race leader, and Gaston with quite a huge gap indeed, and Gaston Coulhavi and Gerardo Ramos who lead the rest of the field here, going up on this long main stretch here.
Yeah, you can see Carvalho there, 2 seconds to the good at the start. So whatever he has done on those cold tires, he really was pushing it. He was basically using black magic on them to just heat them up quite fast and really stormed ahead of the other drivers. That's what he wanted. He's 2.6 seconds ahead of Kulhavi. As we say hello to a few people on the chat. Just keep our regular who comments on here. Hello. Rapid Casting as well. He says it's Morbic time for Arlo Morbic, but as far as we're concerned right now, he's still somewhere there in the mid-pack, P30 in front of Leandro Verle and the other Carvalho. I don't think they're related because Carvalho is quite a popular surname among Portuguese speakers, but we would be standing correct on that one because familiar relations is not something we're used to around these spots, at least as far as we know for certain drivers. With on board Guinness then up 10 positions, P5 behind Jackson Resende. So both the drivers that were setting the pace in qualifying are now on the cusp of getting onto the roster as big slide for Resende coming out of turn number 10 into the tight hairpin here. Guinness up on the inside. We have an outward view of what's happening here. Side by side they go. That's a battle for P8 between Lozano, Belzidi and Mercado, but Guinness is up to P4.
Yeah, so Guinness implementing all of his skills with touring cars, they're definitely transferable over with to these Porsche cars. So putting all of that to good use. Of course, at the same time, Guinness is an extremely adaptable driver. You throw him into any car, he'll be absolutely fast indeed. So there is another battle taking place for 8th position, which is definitely spicy indeed. But of course, the main battle here that we want to have a look at is whether or not Guinness will be able to close the gap with Gerardo Ramos currently in 3rd. So they're thundering down the main stretch again. So of course, we're coming out upon the 3rd lap of 8 laps of racing here at Catalunya, and already we do kind of have an overtaking attempt down the main stretch between what would appear to be Belciti and Lozano somewhere in 8th position. So Resende currently in 5th, and David Toth he's over in 6th position. So Toth was at one point your pole sitter. Of course, he was if you could recall just moments ago, he had a very fast qualifying lap time, and he's definitely transferring all of that over to the first race here. So, of course, one of the downsides with just 8 laps here is that drivers don't exactly have much time to climb as many positions as they love to, so they'll have to definitely do their best, which is what drivers like Toth and Guinness have been doing all race long indeed.
Yeah, but despite that short numbers in terms of race distance, it is a long lap around here. So we saw just now the qualifying, it was up to the late 40s into the 50s, so that actually does make the race a bit longer. So it's kind of like TCR around Nürburgring. It might be 3 laps, but it's such a long lap, anything can happen. As there's Guinness onto the inside of Ramos, and he moves up to P3 onto the rostrum, and as predicted, the fast guys will come up and rise to the top despite the heavier workload than usual, because he has to pass in relatively heavy but fast cars around here. He is now up to P3 as behind Kulhavi. It's another 1.7 seconds behind Carvalho. So Carvalho still catchable, but he does have a bit of a comfort zone between himself and the rest of the field there, Wei Han.
So we do have a look at the gap between some of the drivers. So, well, you do have an average of, I would say, 0.7 of a second between drivers at this point, although Carvalho has a sizable gap ahead of Gaston Kulhavi. This is Vicente, who's attempting to take 4th position from Gerardo Ramos. So Ramos is one of our interesting drivers as well. He's also a fast driver, but it does seem that Guinness is applying all that pressure indeed to try to make an overtaking move on Kulhavi. Makes that work absolutely cleanly there. This is a right-hander of, I believe, Repsol corner, and Guinness up to 2nd place, climbed 13 positions where he started from, and definitely a great clean move there indeed. So it is now Guinness leading this train of 5, and we'll see if Guinness will be able to close his gap with the race leader at this point. So we'll probably keep our eyes peeled on the time interval there, and we'll see if Guinness can lead everyone else close up to the race leader. It's quite a sight, right? You've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 close together, and you have P1 all the way up in front. So we will see if this gap will be closed up by Guinness himself.
Yep, as you can see, that's tough on the inside. Resende, that's 2 heavy hitters here in the league, with Resende then on the outside, which will become the inside very soon. But at the moment, Toff has the inside. Now he's on the outside. He's going to lose a bit of ground there, and Resende comes through to retake P5 that he was under attack so much, but he gets a bit squirrely on the exit. Toff's on the inside, and the battle is rescinded for now because they have to know full well that the more they battle, the more they're going to lose out. As somehow Toff manages to get back at Resende and gets it up to P5 with now Resende back on the inside here. Side by side they go. The more they battle, the more they're going to reel in back Pedro Mora and the rest of the other gaggle of cars behind them. But it looks as though Toff has a better exit out of New Holland onto the start-finish straight, and he will take P5 permanently for now, as he just gets narrowed to just allow himself to defend ahead of Resende. So Resende then loses out big time, not only your position, but 1.5 seconds to Gerardo Ramos, who he was just right behind coming in through to the final sector way behind.
Yeah, we can have a look at Jackson Resende going at it. Well, the great thing with webcams is that you can kind of really look at if or not the driver is really under duress or if he's just having fun. It's a bit hard to tell because Resende is such a good driver, and you can see the amount of focus going in as he tries to find a window of opportunity past David Toth. So Toth climbed at 9 positions, putting his great Porsche Tech Heuer Esports Super Cup experience, bringing all of that here to AMX, and he's leading Resende very well indeed. So, well, you can just see how decently close. I'm not exactly absolutely close like Guinea and Kohlhavi were just now, but still decently close for some overtaking opportunities to come on if Resende is going to be able to make use of his opportunity. Well, both drivers coming very close indeed and overtaking. Well, that could have been an overtaking attempt if the drivers were closer. So that was the move down the left-hand hairpin. And we're now back with the race leader, so Guinea has closed the gap. Guinea has closed the gap, Amir.
Yep, you called it there on the ticker bottle. You managed to message in between while you're commentating there, so you had a bit of layer of commentary via the text, so it is getting spicy at the top. So Carvalho then, the prominent race leader up in front, he has led all 6 laps here so far out of the 8, coming into the final couple of laps, but it's Corentin Guinness who is going to be reeling him in and battling it up for the win here. So will Carvalho put up a stern defense, or will Guinness be able to make the move easily coming into the front? We'll have to wait and see now. It's going to come up very, very soon. We saw Guinness already make an overtake maneuver here early in the race, but will he do it now with a much sterner opponent in Mateus Carvalho? It looks as though Carvalho's got the better of Guinness just for the time being, holding his line very well and keeping up the pace just a bit in front of the Frenchman, with Kohlhavi just watching breathe there, 1.2 seconds for the behind. Goes a bit wide coming into turn number 5. That will not be ideal for his exit. As you can see, Guinness is all over him like a rash, ready to pounce.
Oh yeah, so is this going to be a moment where Guinea goes for the overtaking move on Carvalho? Remember that racing here at Catalonia is difficult to overtake. It is a permanent racetrack, you know, it's not a street circuit, but it is quite a difficult place to plan your overtaking move. So
he's looking onto the inside, he's coming into La Caixa, then makes it through. So that's another prominent overtaking spot because it's a tight hairpin, a braking zone, so you get a good run coming out of turn number 9 into turn 10 at La Caixa. You have gold, and for Corentin Guinness, it's gold for him. He's up in front and winning on it. Yeah, I was just about to say that hairpin is one of the few overtaking opportunities that we have here, because across this chicane it's difficult to make an overtaking move work, and across the first and second sectors you really have to follow the car closely in front of you before you can swing open and make an overtaking move work. So Toth in 5th position, he's between Ramos and Resende. Toth currently sitting where he was sitting for the past 5 minutes. And as we come towards 2 laps of racing to go, we can, it is on these drivers to try to make their overtaking moves work. Because any moves they want to make it work, any moves they want to pull off, they have to make it work within the next 1 or 2 laps. So that is our one and only Gerardo Ramos, who's fighting in 4th, and his car from far away, it does kind of look a bit like a Porsche 964 in some ways, or a 930. If you look at it from far away, maybe because he's painted his front bumper in the same color as his paint scheme and not black. So that is David Toth along the inside of the Seat corner, taking the inside, but Ramos manages to defend his racing line along the outside. So it is quite an interesting corner. You can carry speed through there, absolutely no issues at all. And coming upon with chicane,
Ramos continues to lead Todd and Resende up upon towards the second sector of this circuit. And onto this right-hander where you don't want to cop it off track when you take the exit there.
That's where the lead was taken that's where the lead was taken previously. Sorry, Weihan. Coming into Lakaisha again, tough on the inside. Ramos didn't put up much of a defense, but he does have in him his racecraft, and that was brilliant. He actually just hook, line, and sinker Toff into a mistake, just blocked up a bit, and there goes Ramos back up to P4, but Resende follows suit, and he's now the pursuer to the Iberian. As we're on to the final lap, then Gires is about 1.5 seconds ahead at the front, but we're looking at a real close battle here for the positions outside the rostrum. Ramos, Resende, and Toff. Toff will be absolutely fuming with himself with that slight misjudgment in the braking to take away P4 from Ramos, and he's still having to work up now the back of Resende and Ramos for good measure, as here it is battling on the rostrum, Carvalho and Kulhavi. So these two are now going to battle it out for themselves here for P2 and P3, because Gires has checked out 1.7 seconds ahead. This is good battles all around. 3 different battle packs up at the front of the rostrum with at the sharp end of the grid with second and third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, and further behind there, Kyle Gaspar Mercado as well, battling with Belzidi. So that's 3 different battle packs brewing here.
Yeah, with white flag in the air, all of the drivers are now in survival mode. They're trying to make all the moves that they can. That is a battle for 4th position. Resende made the overtaking move on Ramos, and so did Toth make the overtaking move work there. You can kind of try to multitask and focus on both things at once, because the battle for 4th looks to be absolutely spicy indeed. That seemed to be a little bit of contact there, but that was there wasn't any contact. That was Toth being overtaken. So positions have been kind of switching every few corners right here. But I think what matters most is that you want to be at the position you want to be when you cross the line, and not at this point, not anywhere before that. So obviously your Corentin Guinea will most likely be your eventual race winner, but the tight battle is right here. It is David Toth who's leading Bell City. He's just been overtaken by Ramos, so he doesn't want to lose any more positions. So your race winner at the bottom right of your screen, that is Corentin Guinea, who will come around the final corner and the start finish line to take Heat 1 of racing here at Catalunya, with Carvalho and Kulhavi in 2nd and 3rd position. But the tight battle, the result of all of that battling in the final lap, will mean that Resende will come across the start finish line in 4th and Ramos in 5th. Toth comes home in 6th, with Bell City, who's not been able to make the overtaking move. He comes home in 7th, and Kyle Gaspar comes home in 8th position. Lozano and Mercado and Lozano round off your top 10 finishers from Heat 1 here at Catalonia. And what an exciting race indeed.
Absolutely. Toff was definitely feeling a little bit miffed by the fact that he couldn't get past Ramos and Resende. They both fought real hard to maintain the positions in front of him. So he's going to start further in front in race number 2. That will be a little bit of a consolation for him. But he still has 9 other drivers to get rid of up in front, as we see several other drivers crossing the line, including Borges, who's finally crossed it after being a lap behind. And of course, he was taken out earlier in the lap. That was Rafael Maruta, P20, and Diego Villarreal, who's always constantly in the wars, battling here and there. But unfortunately today, no cigar for him. He is in P22. As somebody said on the bottom here, is this the shame cam? Well, just give that is just only to show that at least we can give some screen time for the drivers who are not normally at the sharp end of the grid. So think of that as a positive for these guys. It's nothing to be ashamed of. As we got a few other comments coming in with the likes of, everyone always asks, who's that commentator? But it's not, how's that commentator? Well, how are we? We are doing quite fine. Waking up early around 7 a.m. to do the commentary. But with this kind of racing, it really does perk us up in the morning. It's even stronger than coffee, I would say. Yeah, well, definitely morning broadcasts are always quite a unique thing for us. Well, so the results of what has been an intense race here at Catalonia, you have your BenQ session winner from Heat 1. That is Corentin Guinea, who wins the first heat. Yeah, and he's definitely looking very confident indeed for the next race. Corentin Guinea, your race winner, with Mateus Carvalho coming home in 2nd. Gaston Kulhavi and Jackson Resende coming home in 3rd and 4th. Gerardo Ramos, David Toth in 5th and 6th position. Del City, Gaspar, Mercado and Lozano round off your top 10
race finishers from the first heat. And what that means is that later on in the second heat, Guillaume Eliseo will start from pole with Paulo Morbeck and Leandro Vele starting in second and third position in just about 5 minutes time.
Or rather immediately at times. You can see the cars are in grid there. Heat number 2 then for AMX 0 Race 31 AMX Global League Season 3. This, you can hear the revs already while we were actually in the transition mode. That is one of the drivers in P16, Felipe Azevedo, who's just behind Corentin Guinness. So he was outside of that top 50. Can you imagine that? Just one position away from being on pole position where Guillaume Eliseo is right now. There's the starting grid as we see Eliseo and Morbeck, so it is definitely Morbeck time as, a bit of a spin there for Ramos before even the race started. So hopefully he can recover in time to get back to his grid position because green flag is flowing quite fast. So in fact, that's not Ramos, that's actually another driver in a yellow car further behind. But there's the grid then coming across our screens. Important thing to note, Guinness and Carvalho Kulhavi are further behind, so they're in 13, 14 and 15 respectively. As the safety car peels off, incidentally is also a Porsche. Guillaume Eliseo is going to be holding the line up in front with Morbeck right beside. It looks as though Morbeck got jumped by the other drivers behind. You can see green flag now, waves, green, 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 away we go. Eliseo gets the jump on the line just like what Kulhavi did at the start of the previous race. But it looks as though it's going to be Verle in second place. Rago moves up to the Mora as well. Somehow manages to squeeze through. Morbeck being swamped by the rest of the field there. And, there's a spin already.
Someone's gone around.
That is Gaspar being sent off into the shadow ram and into the barriers. That's the end of any chances for him to get points out of this one. But apart from that, the rest of the field then streamed their way through and just got a clean start. They're 95% clean.
Yeah, what a race start indeed. Eliseo, your race leader, and we've also got Leandro Vele, who's climbed one position, and Facundo Arago's gone 2 positions up. So it was Caio Gaspar who spun himself, and as a result of that, he's going to lose opportunities to finish well in this race, plowing himself into the wall, but not exactly damaging his car that much. So probably a saving grace there. Oh, someone else has got around. That seems to be Morbeck, who's unfortunately found himself around at the wrong place. Be careful with that. You don't want to reverse into the field. Oh, that has resulted in quite a couple of other cars having to take evasive maneuvers, and that, well, not exactly a good look there. But otherwise, we do have a new race leader. Ramos, Ramos has gone a little bit out wide.
Yeah, and Carvalho as well is now coming up there. So yeah, Carvalho was the one that had the good whole shot in the first race. He half spun that coming onto the green flag. Luckily, he kept it together. As up in front, Verle has overtaken Rago for the lead. This is a replay of what happened to Morbeck, where he just half spun it into the crowd. Luckily, he didn't take out any more people then, and the side of his car, it suddenly becomes more relevant here, the 3 initials on the side of it, as half spins, tries to find reverse to get it back around, but because of that, nearly ran into a few drivers. One driver actually just plowed to the side of him, nearly, and a technical car further behind spins it, so that might have been a recovering Resende anyway, but wow, all kicked off here, and it was looking so good until we just unfortunately jinxed it.
Yeah, well, but at the same time, we do have a very fast Guinea. We were just focusing our attention away, and so quickly he's climbed 12 positions within a span of 2 laps. That is Corentin Guinea for you, absolutely fast driver indeed. Well, he was world champion for the simracing league by the name of what, I don't remember what league it is, but it is a very famous sim racing league, which he has won a championship of last year, and he's taking all of that experience over to AMX as well indeed. So Guinea up in third at this point. He will try his best to close his gap with Facundo Rago, and Rago will also try to close his gap with the race leader Verle, who we are having a look at this point. So upon the happen again.
Sorry, man. Site 815 did say about Guinness being a more aggressive passer, and that really does become a good skill set to have, especially when you do a reverse race like this. You want to overtake guys as fast as possible, because the more that the race leaders get clean air, the more they're going to get away from where you are in relation to them, and that's why Guinness has made most of the time in position. by being more of an aggressive passer, but respectfully done so because he has been able to make the move stick without hitting anybody off. So really then, that's a nice skill to have, isn't it? You managed to claw your way through the grid.
Yeah, so excellent driving by all drivers, especially the drivers up front who've all climbed quite a number of positions. So, well, David Toth has found himself in 5th position as well, so I think Toth will also want to try to make overtaking moves work. Well, it is still quite early on in the race, so well, overtaking moves have to be made. Drivers have plenty of time to plan their overtaking moves. So Facundo Araujo in 2nd at this point. He sits behind Quentin Guinet, and this could be a, well, but at the same time, it is Facundo Araujo who is behind the race leader Vele with a 2/3 tenths of a second between them. So potential overtaking moves that can be made at this point should be made or should be planned for. And well, someone's asking, no, don't jinx it. No, that's not a good thing to do. So is there going to be a potential overtaking move by Araujo as they come upon Kamsa, this right-hander? It is the corner that I think is the most difficult because you cannot take this exit too wide there or you will cop it off track. So Araujo goes along the outside of the entry into the hairpin, but Vele will have the line advantage as they come upon this left-hander. But a switchback there. Guinet and Araujo, both of them take Vele with a switchback, and you have your new race leader Facundo Araujo at this point with Contact Guinet, who took advantage of that to move up to 2nd position. So great strategizing there indeed, Amir.
Yeah, Verily actually did the exact same thing that Toth did. So same colored cars incidentally as well. Going a bit narrow, trying to overtake, which is the ideal thing to do because you have to be on the inside, but misjudges the braking that allows two drivers that the one driver that he tried to overtake get back at him, and the driver behind following suit. So that driver behind, Corentin Guinness, is now on the slipstream of Facundo Araujo. He set the fastest lap initially before David Toth takes it. Onto the inside he goes, coming to turn number 1. Does he make it? Yes, he does. Firm on the brakes, and he's well on his way to a triple crown now. And that was what they were talking about in the comments, to not jinx it. But it looks as though he has been blessed in that regard. It was a reverse jinx. He's up in front. Now he will not be looking back here. He will definitely be on his way to make hay while the sun is shining.
Yeah, we do have very interesting viewers, don't we, Amir? Velocity up in 4th and David Toth still in 5th position. So, well, look, David Toth is our World Championship racing driver, so we would also be expecting a good performance from Toth indeed. But well, it's probably also December and they're coming towards like the end of the season period. So that's also another point. So Vele now in 3rd, and he has a new job of defending his 3rd position from Belciti in 4th and David Toth in 5th position. So halfway point of racing here at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. And we also have, in the background there, we have quite a bit of action potentially going to unfold later on, as this is an overtaking move by both cars. Toth and Belciti make it past Vele, but there we go. Another overtaking attempt here indeed. Belciti currently in 4th, and he's just been overtaken by Toth, who's found his way up to 3rd position. So absolutely great driving there indeed as they come upon the chicanes once again. Vele kind of rounds off this battle pack of 3 cars as he just lost 2 positions from earlier on. And well, you have quite a new state of affairs here in the top 5 of the grid. Your race leader still is currently taking it, and he is being trailed by Facundo Araujo in 2nd position. I mean, this would shape to be spicy indeed. So if we compare this with the first race we had quite a clean start, but we had a lot of overtaking moves take place throughout the middle of the race. But right now, the overtaking moves are coming by quite smoothly indeed, as it is Vele who is being overtaken by Belciti once again.
Yeah, it's happening again outside of the race winning positions. Yes, an overtake did happen for that particular instance, but it's Guinness on Araujo, and Araujo unfortunately has not been able to get back at Guinness immediately, but he is still about a second in it, so he's within that slipstream gap. He can still at least keep tabs with Guinness in that particular instance, as we can see Verle fighting with Belzidi. He has overtaken him earlier, so Belzidi there will try to get back at the Brazilian, while the Argentine likewise will be in the mirrors of Verle all over him like a rash, as we said earlier, trying to retake his position This is actually the closest battle out on track here right now, as the Arnage competition driver comes out of turn number 9 into Lakaisha at turn 10. There's Belzidi on the inside. He has the line on it. Does he have enough of momentum to go through? Yes, he does, and he hooks it up quite nicely to retake P4 away from Leandro Verle.
Hit off that move very well indeed. So, obviously that hairpin there being one of the few safe overtaking opportunities here at this track. We do have Verle once again, who's currently in 5th. I think he is probably teammates with David Toth. They seem to share the same livery, so I would imagine they could be in the same team. Couple of overtaking moves further down the field. Yeah.
And he manages to get a drink in between on the punch straight. No, that's very fast. Normally you'll have a bottle trying to bring him through the straw there, but he decides to go for the old-fashioned cup while driving. Manages to still break in time for turn number 1. So that is some level of skill to have as well, to be able to preoccupy yourself by getting some sort of sustenance while driving.
Speaking of skill, I think Eliseo has unfortunately run wide and he's just lost a couple of positions to the 3 cars who've just overtaken him in front. So Moura in 6th and Lozano in 7th. That is Mercado who's in 8th position and Gaston Couhavi over in 9th. So, well, we've come towards 3 to 2 laps to go here at Catalunya, and we've still got quite the action right now seems to be much more controlled as compared to the first race. Drivers are taking it a little easier at this point, which is interesting because the thing is there's not much at stake at this point, because whatever race results that come with this race are your final race results, and you don't have any reverse grids to come on. There are no more heats after this. It will be a different race altogether later on. So I think that there's much incentive for drivers to push as hard as they can, because this will mean that they get the most out of the racing here with regards to their race results. Mercado continues to fight in 8th position as he sits ahead of Gaston Couhavi, and as he tries to perhaps think of an overtaking move maybe in the next couple of moments on Mauricio Lozano, currently in 7th position.
Yeah, and the fact that when you say a lot is at stake, well, for them the cash on hand, yes, but the thing is, the risk involved in trying to get extra positions is there, because, again, you mentioned it before, how these cars are so susceptible to a bit of contact. They might be sent off, like what happened to one of the Brazilians just now, Caio Gaspar, being sent out in the start of the second heat. So you do not want that. You do not want to get into unnecessary contact that will send you off into the Shadow Realm. Right at this very point, that's where Gaspar lost it. Tough would know that full well right behind Rago. He will try not to be too aggressive and send them both out, but he knows full well that the guy in front is getting away with it. He needs to get up to the back of him very fast. Pronto, as he comes up to the back of him here. First sector, 900s, almost to a 10th to the good, faster than the Argentine that time round, but the Hungarian is still biding his time. He knows full well last time out how he tried multiple overtaking maneuvers. It didn't come off so well. This time he will be cutting to the teeth with experience with that particular instance. He will know when to brake now in regards to where he wants to overtake. At this very point, for example, turn number 10, Lakaisha, he will try to make it stick, but he's too far behind from from Rago here, Tough, to make an overtake. You think he's going to try turn 1 here, Wei Han?
Well, I think that there is the opportunity to. So Toth, very fast driver indeed. So, well, they are in the 3rd sector at this point. So upon this chicane segment, so really the next couple of, I would say the next half of lap is going to be for David Toth to kind of stage his overtaking moves and make sure that he's able to pull it off well. So right now he's trying to, his job is to try to catch the slipstream as much as possible, close the gap with Toth rather with Rago as much as possible as the white flag is thrown up. So there's only 1 lap of racing to go. So Toth does have a bit of a tow along the main stretch. We'll see if he's able to go along the inside. No, it's not close enough to go along the inside for an overtaking move. So Rago continues to sit in 2nd position with but in the next couple of moments we might see something happen, because right now Toth is very close, up close indeed, with the rear bumper of Rago as take on the 1st sector of racing. Yeah. They will be coming upon Repsol corner later on, so this is where if you're close enough for overtaking, you could also try to pull off a move here, but you overtake along the outside or probably it's the other corner here, and they come upon this low left-hander indeed. So after this, there will be probably just one more overtaking opportunity for Toth if he wants to make this work, and that will be the hairpin, which will come around for the final time later on. There is another battle for 6th position, which is currently held by Pedro Moura, and that is Mauricio Lozano as well, who's kind of thinking of that overtaking move. So we're now back onto the middle sector of the of Catalunya indeed, and if Toth wants to make an overtaking move, he has to do it right now. If not, he will lose his opportunity, and he comes so close indeed for the hairpin, and he's missed that opportunity. So we'll have to see if he's able to pull off anything within the next couple of corners. It is a fact though that
we saw
it is a fact though that
close finishes in the past already, Weihan, but this is going to definitely be one of the closest. He only has a couple of corners left to go. Does Rago to defend? He does, as we see Guinness scamper his way to the line. He has never looked back since taking first place away from Rago. He is on his way to Triple Crown, so he wasn't jinxed after all. Across the line he goes, takes the heat victory here, but across the line Rago just 2/10 in front of Toff. So Toff once again didn't really want to push the issue and be a bit too aggressive with the overtake. He settles for a P3, so he'll be happy with that one. Rest of the field come by Belzidi, Verle, Mora, Lozano, and Mercado, your top 8, with Kulhavi as well in P9 in front of Eliseo, the Positer, who has dropped all the way to P10, but he will be happy to be in the points this time around. Other drivers across the line, Carvalho, and in front of him is, behind him is, by the looks of it, the timing screens are going a bit wacky, but it's Borges, Gaspar, Nicolas da Silva, and Diego Villarreal taking the final points as we are now going through what we will be agreeing upon, as what site 815 said, the livery showcase camera, shall we say, way high, to see the other drivers who are outside the points come across the line.
Yeah, well, any screen time is good. Especially so for these drivers. You know, when you're doing a broadcast, you want to give as much coverage as possible to all of the drivers, and we're doing exactly that for the drivers who are racing here. So, well, it's been quite an exciting race here. We've definitely had a great outcome racing here at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, and we definitely got the best car for the job indeed. And as we head towards the results of Heat 2 of Race 31 here at Catalunya of AMX Global League, AMX 0 Race 31 indeed. In a couple of moments the race results will surface as we have a good shot of this beautiful circuit in Catalonia over in Spain. So, well, as we await the results, we can kind of see also that, you know, this track, you can race Formula 1 cars here, you can race touring cars here, you can race MotoGP cars, MotoGP motorbikes here as well, and we can also race rallycross cars here along the final sector as well. So it is quite a versatile race track indeed.
Yep, last of the drivers coming through, car number 123, Miguel Silva, on undoubtedly his home track. Well, close to his home track. Iberian, I'm not sure it's Portuguese or Spanish, but final results then on the screen. Well, when we say final, it will be provisional because we will have students from the Korean Automobile Racing Association to look at this. Guinness in front of Rago and Toff, that's your podium, with Belzidi, Verle, Mora, Lozano, Mercado, Kulhavi, and Eliseu running out your top 10. Mateus Carvalho, who is up in the sharp end of the grid, he didn't manage to claw his way through. He finishes outside of the top 10, but still in the points, P11. Andre Borges, after his troubles in race number 1, managed to scrape a few points in race number 2, P12. Gaspar as well, after being sent off into the shadow realm at the start of the race, he's up to 13. Nicolas Silva, and rounding off your final point scoring positions, Diego Villarreal, with another drive that would say is a bit incognito, but he'll be happy to score at least a couple of cents out of this particular race. Then outside of the
so it
top
definitely
15,
has been an exciting it definitely has been an exciting outing here for the boys with the Porsche Cup cars. You know, you can't really go wrong with that car, and you also can't really go wrong with this track. So it has been excellent nonetheless. So, well, we do have AMX 10 later on, but from this race itself, I mean, what are your thoughts? You know, I think we've had quite a clean race for the most part. and I think we've definitely seen some of the drivers kind of give their best and put on a good show for us.
Absolutely. And the show that they put up was pretty much top of the line stuff. A couple of incidents here and there, but it's mostly top quality racing. So we're glad to see that out of that we have a deserving Triple Crown winner. And with that will be only the third this season, because Chris Lollam and Jackson Rossendi were the other two guys that got Triple Crown. But this one probably be the top of the lot because of the amount of cars out on track, and he had to do some really close racing to do so. So probably the best Triple Crown of the lot will be going to Corentin Guinness and on his way to the AMX Zero crown. But that's enough about AMX Zero for today, race number 31. We'll also have to leave our socials here for those who want to get in touch with us. We are on Instagram, on Twitch, Twitter, Discord as well, so you can see any of the funny messages that come through some of the drivers, and some, now we're at the end of the year, some Christmas wishes as well. So at least some of those drivers can send each other postcards after some hard racing throughout the entire year. We are also live on YouTube where we host our races, and you can see the VODs of this afterwards. Sign up via amxrace.com, and of course we have short form content on the likes of TikTok. So that's AMX Zero done and dusted around the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, but we'll be back pretty soon for the AMX 10 races here, heat, and it will be a nice little change of pace, but no less of a surprise for the other drivers because it'll be a car that we'll be familiar with. But before that, we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
to save our home. We must travel through the gateway to find new energy.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to race number 31 for AMX 10 Global Season 3 from the Autodromo Nazionale Monza. And we are here live today for an absolute treat with the LMP2 prototypes courtesy of the Dallara P217. We are absolutely riveting right now. We'll get into that after this. But it is going to be the formalities that we have to get out of the way first. Welcome aboard then. My name is Amir. Alongside me is Wei Han. And I think Wei Han's positively shaking right now because it's a circuit that he knows very well. He's visited the IRL. And the last time we were doing broadcast together, we were at Monza as well, incidentally. Weren't we, Wei Han?
Yeah, well, the difference is that this time we're using the Grand Prix layout, not the 10-kilometer combined layout. So it should be a safer experience for the drivers, I hope. Yes, but this is such an amazing place. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, physically that would be quite demanding given the fact that a circuit like that would definitely be making you shaking with absolute fear if you were to drive it. But this is what we're going to have here today, the formalities before we go into the circuit and the car combinations. There is the overhead view of the Autodromo Nazionale Monza. This is what we have right now for AMX Global League Season 3, the overview. It starts from the 20th of September, almost now 3 months ago exactly, and will be ending in a couple of weeks time on December 17th because we've extended the ending of the season a bit later, but that will be announced with what cars and tracks that we use afterwards. $25,000 on offer, and this is a paid format. We'll get into that as well after this. Race format, on the other hand, it will be the exact same. 50-minute qualifier, top 50 will be reversed for the first race, a 15-minute heat 1, or how many laps in this case is 8, and then we'll be doing the exact same thing for heat number 2. So prize amounts for every standing, same for every section. So that's what we'll be aiming for. We had AMX 0 out of the way just now with an extra $1 for the driver camps, but for AMX 10, because it is a paid league for this particular instance, it is required to have a webcam on board, so you can join via AMX Discord or the website. With the payout balances about $100 every month for the drivers in AMX 10. Races are held on Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays, and you can sign up anytime at amxrace.com. So that's the race format in itself being shown and what is at stake. But when are we racing? Well, we're going to be racing in this particular instance Eastern Standard Time from Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday at 6:50 p.m. for the guys over stateside, and 8:20 p.m. right now where they are for the AMX 10 League. So 1:20 p.m. on the weekend, 8:20 p.m. on the weekdays. But if we flip it to the other side of the planet for the European audience side of things, this is what it looks like for them. On the Thursday, it will be 2:20 a.m. So Wednesday for the American guys, Thursday for the European guys, and our side of the pond on the Asian side. So basically, different sides of the moon in this particular instance for the drivers in Asia and Europe and the Americas. 7:20 p.m. on weekends, 2:20 a.m. on the Thursday. So that's the time of day settled. This is the other formality you have to get by as well. It's the prize pool per race for the drivers that we have. So it's not every day that qualifying pays out that much, but in this league it does. $40 for pole position, that goes all the way to 15th, which is $3. And then when we flip the script on its head, we have top 15 to start with. If you manage to claw your way up to the front, you get $40 as well for your troubles, and $5 extra for the fastest lap of the race. So a couple of drivers have had triple crowns, but a full complete sweep is probably on the cards for some of them as well. So we have to look back at the records for that one. And if we go to heat number 2, exact same thing. So the cameras are required to receive the prize for this race, and it's a total of up to $601. So again, for the drivers who managed to get all 3 of them, the pole, the first heat and the second heat, it is up to about $125. So that is definitely one to watch out for if we have another triple crown winner here today. And for the rewards at the end of the season, for the AMX 10 champion, it is a very good rig. This one you can hold any type of steering wheel, from the entry-level Logitechs to the high-end direct drives like MONZA, etc. It's Next Level Racing's FGT Elite as the grand prize. So that's what the drivers in AMX 10 are aiming for. Here are the top 12 for AMX 10. Well, it's a bit, as we have had other people say before, AMX 10 top 12 as opposed to AMX 10 top 10. But at top 12, we get to see the entire spectrum of drivers who have been involved from the least to the most. And for drivers like Belzidi, Valero, and Corentin Guinness, they have had almost well over 2 decades of races in their belt so far. And I mean by decades, it's 20 plus, of course. Resende 29, Gaspar 28. But in terms of prize winnings, $1,400 is what Guinness has gotten from his 6 race wins in 23 races that he has had. So it's an amazing stat so far, and it's no wonder that he is a shoe-in right now for a double here in AMX 0 and AMX 10. But that is the total amount. We're going to go into the average winnings per race, and that's when it is a little bit different compared to what we saw just now. This is by far a telling story if drivers did a lot of the races, but we can see the averages. So for the likes of Enzo Benito from Team Redline and David Toft, it's 95 and 79 because they've only done 1 race in MX 10. And Sibut Prebot, who's a driver that me and Weihan have not seen because we've not done some of the broadcasts that these guys are on. They got $76, etc. Whereas the likes of Corentin Guinness, because he's done more races, the averages are much lower, but he wouldn't really mind too much about that because the total money he has earned throughout the entire season has been absolutely ridiculous. So then, we also have a promotion, a monthly promotion. In fact, for those first 10 entries, you get a free entry for AMX 10. And races are on a rolling basis, so make sure you have to check regularly if you can secure a spot. And I think, judging by today's entry list, I think they may just be able to burst the bubble on that one because it is full to the brim with 20 plus drivers. So after the first 10 races, the sign-ups per race, entry fees for set race will go back up to normal. So you have to go join in quickly, otherwise you miss your boat. Now then, formalities out of the way, let's get into what we're going to be seeing here today in AMX 10. And without further ado, Weihan, take it away. And I'm pretty sure you're pretty much excited to tell any more anecdotes you were in Monza.
Yes, so we have come to what will probably be one of the most famous places to go racing in the world. It is Autodromo Nazionale Monza, the Temple of Speed, as the Italians love to call it. It opened in 1922, so what that means is that this year is its 101st anniversary, which is absolutely the case, especially with the fact that this track has been open for so long. 5.7 kilometers long, so you can definitely feel it, but of course when you're driving here, you're mostly flat out, so time passes quite quickly when you're racing here at Monza. It's a track with 11 corners. The modern rendition at least has 11 corners, which includes some famous chicanes and right-handers, mostly right-handers and chicanes that have been in place over the years due to safety concerns, but this track still retains its characteristics of being the home of top speed racing for all forms of motorsports that come here. This is Parabolica, and the grandstand right below there is the exact grandstand that I've been at, and it's such a good view when you look at some of the cars taking the corners here. So the car of choice, the weapon of choice that will be available to drivers here, it is the Dallara P217 LMP2 racing machine. So, well, you know, this car has come here to race before because, you know, with some endurance races at Monza, the LMP2s would definitely have come here before. So, well, we kind of know this as one of the most popular endurance racing options, of course, alongside the GT cars, alongside the former LMP1 cars, alongside the GTP cars. These LMP2 cars do pack a punch, and it's kind of a good in-between between the LMP1 cars as well as some of the LMP3 cars that are available in other series. So definitely a proper racing machine here that we have, which will definitely push the drivers to their limits. And we'll see what kind of racing action these drivers will bring us here at Monza.
Indeed. And incidentally, of course, the Dallara come from Italy, so it is a home-made car on their home track. So,
yes,
can't wait to see what qualifying has in store, as right now we are going to head into qualifying, and out on track immediately we're on board with, I think this is Corrado Ramos, because any yellow car you can definitely tell is his, but it could just be another driver that we could be mistaken for. As it's Guinness. So it's Guinness we're on board with right now, and it's a nice thing to have that the championship leader would be the first guy we have on board with. And of course, he's not only championship leader in the AMX 10, but he's also the leader in the AMX 0. He's going for pretty much the double here this season.
It's going for everything, man. He wants to everything in the bag, which is definitely great. If you're a driver as good as Cointech in it, then what's stopping you from doing your best, right? So qualifying, all the drivers are on the out lap, and of course, at this point he's trying to get all the heat into these tires, and then down along this stretch of a segment, you kind of go under that old oval there, and that's probably another yellow car, which that could probably be Gerardo Ramos, that other yellow car, but comes around Ascari along the left-hander, and then along this back stretch. This along what you'll notice is that along this back stretch, if you go to the left behind the grandstand, you kind of have a big empty field, and that's usually where the fan zone is for the Formula 1 races. And this is Corentin Guinea from Team SimRacing. Of course, one of our drivers from France. We do have quite a few drivers from France indeed, and of course he's definitely Guinea is definitely one of the fastest drivers that we have in the AMX roster, as we mentioned earlier on, and it's great to have him racing here with us. So if you are interested, you can follow Corentin Guinea on social media with the tag as you see on screen there, and we'll also get to enjoy his racing action here at Monza.
And in a bit in a snazzy livery, no less. It's a gold front and then a slight hint of black at the back with really nice patterns all around. So I gotta say, we got really a nice assortment of liveries here today on some of these cars, and I'm not surprised as well we see a Red Bull on it too, with the Turkey 2021 homage, I would say. But then again, it's also the same livery they ran in Japan too, to say goodbye to Honda. It's just nice to see that there's a lot of motorsports references here today on our cars. As onto the back straight, this is the Seraglio kink. Onto the Ascari chicane, Tamas Simon. He's our first guy out on track here today, and the very first driver we see here today driving with the VR headset. So luckily the races are not long for him. He won't be feeling too sick with it, but I think drivers in VR definitely have a better advantage in terms of visibility, isn't it, Wei Han? You're probably a proponent of that.
Well, I have tried racing with VR on numerous occasions, and it is better in that you can look into the apex and kind of perceive and kind of have a better perception of the depth of the track, and in so many ways it does help with getting the right racing lines. Although I do have to say that if you are prone to motion sickness as I am, you can't really wear that for long before you start throwing up. So I'll stick with my monitors.
Widescreen monitors for the win. Or some of us, at least a single screen is enough a single widescreen is enough for us to get by in our sim racing, as yours truly is using the exact same one right now to do this broadcast. So imagine if it was a widescreen, you'll see a lot of white lights around the specs. So at least, it's preferences. People can race however they want it, so long as they can be quite competitive. And speaking of competitive, here's a driver who we are certain to do the business as well. This is Gael Valero behind. I thought it was Guinness for a second because it looked like the exact same car. No, in fact, there could be a different car right in front of him. But Valero has traffic here. That might help him out in terms of slipstream, but through the corners, if he gets caught up by the driver in front, car number 10, and that is Facundo Rago. If Rago were to slip up a bit, Valero might ram to the back of him. So this is a game of cat and mouse, and it's quite tense here if someone was to make a mistake.
No, so we do have a majority of drivers who have set down their lap time. So your pole sitter at this point, Tamas Simon with 1:37.224. So that's definitely a very fast lap time indeed. So of course, when you're racing here at Monza, you want to get your straight line optimized. And because this is an open qualifying session, it would help sometimes to try to get a slipstream of the other drivers on track to optimize your straight line speeds and consequently your lap times. So we might see some slipstreaming taking place later on. Perhaps this is exactly what's going on. A bit of slipstream there between the two cars here along the main stretch. This is David Toth, one of the fast drivers from the previous session.
Yeah, we got no timing tower at this point in time. We can tell you that Simon is the fastest right now, 37.2, just 0.2 of a second in front of Pedro Dean. And David Toff, as you mentioned, Weihan, is in third. Now we get the graphics on screen. Thank God for that one. Thank you, production team behind the scenes, for making it all possible. We can see there, Toff really mounting the curves, and he is definitely enjoying driving these cars as opposed to the Porsche Cup cars we saw earlier, that he couldn't be too aggressive. Now he can a little bit with the prototypes.
Yeah, the amount of downforce that this car brings is definitely something. Of course, it's not open wheeler levels of downforce, but you still get a lot for what you're getting with this car. Of course, at Monza you do need downforce, but not a whole lot. Most importantly, you need straight line speed here, and of course, the trick to racing here is that you want to get the best line possible and scrub off as little speed as possible along some of the corner exits, so to speak. So David Toth currently sits in third, or rather he's positioned in, he's got a third fastest lap time. It comes around Parabolica, so in the next 15 seconds or so he will come, in the next 5 seconds or so he will come around the start finish line, but no, he opts to go back into the pits, so we won't see how fast lap time is. But that is Gaston Kohavi right now. He's currently got 7th.
Yeah, and right now we have a banker lap, shall we say, but it was a really fast banker lap from Thomas Simon, Hungarian driver for the Veloce esports team, incidentally. So Veloce have a representative here. That's nice to see, because we have a partnership with Redline this season, and that's another top sim racing team. It's nice to see that the fast boys have come out to play here and really increases the standard of field significantly. You can see there 3 World Championship rated drivers, or pro rated drivers as well, because there's WC and P on their license. In this case, in fact, all 3 of the World Championship licensed drivers: Thomas Simon, David Toff, and Gael Valero. So 9.5K is the highest, with the lows of the 3, Simon 8.2, but there's nothing to sneeze at, of course, because that's still a ridiculously high rating. We saw Max Verstappen we came before. He's around 9.7, so they're not far off from some of the best of the best in the business here today, Weihan.
Yeah, absolutely, and of course, Max Verstappen, he's definitely very involved in sim racing. He's doing a lot of good things for sim racing as well, so it's great to have Verstappen in the sim racing world with us. And that's someone who's gone around. This is our only American in the server. This is Tim State,
and he's VR as well, by the way.
Currently, oh, okay, he's on VR. That's nice.
And last time I saw him was during the NASCAR race around Daytona. That was quite a doozy as well. We were kind of rooting for him a bit to do the business. There he is. There he is in his VR headset.
Nice.
So thank God that it's compulsory to have the camera so that we can see any of these drivers wearing any VR headsets. Sim racing rigs that look really, really out there, or even drivers that can have, to do some crazy activities in between, like drinking while driving. And I mean drinking normal water, not the other way around, of course.
Or maybe wearing a hat, a unique hat that one of our famous drivers, Nico Godoy, would do every now and then in between sessions. Yeah, we're back with Thomas Simon, who is our quote-unquote pole sitter at this point. Thomas Simon is currently up top with 1:37.224 as usual. Gael Valero has found himself in 2nd position. Well, as we just say, that Simon does have quite some traffic behind him earlier on, probably attempting to go for a slipstream. So we do have a look at the number 18, who's David Toth. So I think both of them being teammates, there would be a lot of reason for both drivers of Team Veloce to take advantage of being close to each other, especially at a place like Monza, where you want to get as much slipstream as possible to get yourself as high of a top speed as possible.
Viva la Veloce, as one of the comments that came through just now, courtesy of Rapid Casting. He really is showing his support for not only Veloce but also Team Arnage, which is a team that I'm quite familiar with, because they also not only did the Le Mans 24 Hours virtual, of course, but they also are a team that managed to snag up a certain Mega Hakimi to drive for them in the FSR World Championship just this year. So Arnage is a team that I'm quite familiar with either way on that particular instance. Now, we look at other drivers that are coming across the line. Guilherme Eliseu, he didn't improve his time. He's still P13 behind his fellow countryman Lucas Dornella. Several other drivers we're looking at right now. Gaston Kohavi, he was on his slow lap just now. Now he's on his push one. And up behind Well, that was Simon in front of this guy. This is David Toff. Toff is backing off a bit. Looks as though he didn't want to fancy his chances with the slipstream. He'd rather do it on his own in clean air, Wei Han. Oh.
That's interesting.
Into the
Oh,
pits.
okay, maybe he's just decided to go into the pits. Yeah, we're coming towards the last portion of qualifying, so... Well, it seems that the drivers haven't really swapped positions that much. I think the qualifying lap times have kind of been set in stone, but... well... Okay. We don't have that many drivers on track anymore. I haven't driven this car in a long time, so I'm not exactly sure what exactly the qualifying strategy is, because but I do notice that sometimes in qualifying there will be times where drivers will just kind of hang around outside the pits and beyond the track throughout, and sometimes the drivers will kind of come up for a couple of laps and reset their cars. Oh, a bit of action there between the number 15 and that other LMP2 car. So yeah, there was a contact along the exit of Dallara.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you something.
Yep.
If you come to Monza on a non-race day, you can actually rent a bicycle and cycle this track.
Sweet. Well, something that Sepang also does, but unfortunately,
Okay.
it doesn't. It comes with a bit of a price. Whereas suppose, well, you said rents as well. You had to pay for a bit, but Sepang is a bit
Yes.
exorbitant. Sepang, can you please lower the price if we go for the circuit? Calling them out on air there, by the way. I'm not afraid to do that, because the thing is, you want to get people involved in motorsports, but even if it's just a free cycling day, it must be done, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Sepang does have cycling days, right? I think I saw, but they only restricted to Saturdays. But here in Monza, because when it's not race day, Monza is actually a park. It is a park, so the public has access to I guess even if it's not the track all the time, you've kind of got access to everything around the track, and also even the forest within the track itself. So it's definitely something. When you're there, you really have the kind of chill, rustic vibes that you would get if you walked into a forest or something. It's just that you've got a racetrack in the middle of it.
Certainly, and it's kind of like some British circuits, for example, Alton Park. Yeah, despite the park in the name, it is located somewhere inside a forest reserve. Or Brands Hatch, you can even have a golf course in between. That's a lot of varieties of circuits around the world. That's an example. Europe does have that kind of legacy where you can have circuits built in among public spaces, so that's why it's accessible, and it just makes it all the more serene that you can walk around these areas of the circuit that is not open during race days. They're closed off for race days. You get to do it on your own time. That is quite a nice touch, isn't it? Especially what you just mentioned with another anecdote of yours, Wei Han.
Yeah, definitely. Well, as we come towards the final moments of qualifying, it is Thomas Simon who still is your fastest qualified driver. Well, what that means is that he will start from P15 later on in the first heat, but that's no matter because he's absolutely fast indeed. And if you're fast at Monza, it's likely that you'll be able to continue to remain up top. Gustavo Ariel,
Yep.
we've not seen him. It's great to see him racing here with us in AMX 10. So Gustavo Ariel is one of your other World Championship racing drivers. So of course he by day he does drive in the Porsche Tech Heuer Esports Super Cup. But it is interesting that we did see him drive earlier on, because he would have dominated that session without an issue. But he's racing here now with the LMP2, so still great nonetheless. And Gustavo is your driver, your only driver in this session to have 10.9k I rating. So more than 10k I rating. This alien level is like a top 0.001% of drivers. You can count. I think you can count with one or two hands how many drivers there are with I ratings higher than 10k.
Yeah, but unfortunately for him, his qualifying has not gone the way that he would have wanted, and he's outside the top 15. So he has to start in the middle of the pack out of 29 drivers that we have. Yes, 29 LMP2s are going to roar through the park here at Autodromo Nazionale Monza. But before we go then, we have our qualifying results set in stone right now. Thomas Simon up in front. We've got Valero in second and Pedro Dean third. That's your top three, but there'll be 15th, 14th and 13th come the start of the race, and it was only 900s the difference between Simon and Valero, so they're definitely ones to watch out for to actually make it up through the pack that are going to go up to the front of the grid. Victor Miranda, Gerardo Ramos will be the guys that will be starting on pole position on the first 2 rows of the grid. First 2 positions on the grid on the first row, with Facundo Rago and Lucas Donella right behind him. Really then, it is a close field. First to 12. Just about a second in it between them. That is a really competitive field, Wei Hun.
Oh, it absolutely is. So, this is definitely a testament to how close, how fast the drivers are. So, don't think for once that, if the driver is qualified below that they're slow. No, these drivers are all equally fast. They will have your butt handed to you any day.
Yeah, we're gonna have to go PG-13 in that one, but you're right, because if we were to both race right now, we'll definitely be hard pressed to find any sort of gap to qualify, and of course trying to get within even just a second of these guys would be quite a tall order, and that's what some drivers have found out, especially the ones who are starting in who were in P15 qualifying but now on pole position. Victor Miranda in front of Gerardo Ramos, row number 1. Second row is Lucas Donella and Facundo Rago. Brazilian, Iberian, Brazilian and Argentine, your first 2 rows. After that, it is a smorgasbord of drivers of various nationalities, including Brazilians, Argentines, French and Hungarians, rounding up your entire top 15. Outside of that, Elise will be a bit disappointed that he just missed out on pole position for the script flipped on its head race heat with just 700s separating him from P15. Sigmund, João Paulo, Gustavo Ariel will be the one to watch out for from P19. William Dini, then Fabio Zambrellini, names that rhyme quite well. Mauricio Lozano, the first of the Americas drivers, and of course Tim State, we saw just now driving VR. He's gonna line up well below the top 20. He will be starting from 23rd. So, Wei Han, before we get into the action, what's your predictions going to be? Because this is a big field of drivers.
It's going to be a hard call because so many fast drivers. You can't really tell who's gonna have a better shot at who, because yes, you do have Corentin Guinea, but you've also got some of the other best World Championship drivers here. Al Valero, Thomas Simon himself, David Hoth, and Gustavo Ariel. So it could be anyone's fight, maybe not everyone's fight, but perhaps a certain handful of drivers here. So we'll definitely have to wait and see as the race unfolds. So they've come around Parabolica, which is one of the most interesting corners on this track.
Yep, Miranda on pole position. He's going to wait for the green light, green flag with Gerardo Ramos right beside him. And we are underway. So Miranda gets a good jump there in front of Ramos. Ramos has to go evasive, trying to defend. Coming into turn number 1 here as the rest of the field stream by. 29 prototypes. LMB2s coming into turn number 1. Miranda gets the whole shot and takes the proper racing line to turn number 1, with Ramos managing to just somehow hold off Facundo Rago and Lucas Donella coming through as one of the drivers takes to the grass. That looks like Gal Valero, I think. Valero might have actually taken into the grass. Belzidi in the Porsche liveried LMP2. That's a nice touch. It is colors from the GT3 Cup. But the rest of the field then, 29 drivers are still in this race, and they are coming up now to the Dallara.
Yeah, so great start by all of the drivers. A little bit of a spins there along the first chicane, but that does kind of happen at Monza when you have cold tires. The first chicane is never easy when you're driving with cold tires. So Facundo Rago currently in 3rd, who we're riding with, and that is Guinea, who's climbed 2 positions up to 9th. And of course, with these LMP2 cars, your reflexes have to be quite fast in order to handle what this car throws at you. So Victor Miranda, your race leader, he's started from pole, he's still leading the race with Ramos in 2nd. And we'll see how long these drivers can kind of hold off their positions, because it does seem that Facundo Rago is starting to come under quite a fair bit of pressure from Jackson Resende, who sits in 4th position. So they're along the backstretch for the first time here at Monza, and they'll come around the Parabolica, and this is Lucas Donella, who's coming under quite a bit of pressure from Pedro Moura. But we do also have a Corentin Guinea who might think of overtaking moves. I think he's pulled off 3 overtaking moves already, and he might pull off quite a few more. That's a potential one between Belziti and Donella. So Belziti goes along the inside.
Number 1 then. Yep, coming out to turn number 1, Donella goes around the outside this particular instance. Belziti was trying to launch through the inside, couldn't get it through. Now he's got a better run out of there because he didn't have to really go too wide coming out the exit, as up in front Ramos has managed to reel in Miranda coming up to the De La Rocha chicane. Will he make it through? They're going side by side. This is Vettel Alonso stuff back in 2011. Ramos on the inside, and Ramos does what Alonso couldn't and tried to overtake Vettel. But in this particular instance, Ramos makes it, and he is up in front of Miranda, with Rago coming through. So these two are going to be inseparable, aren't they, up in front? The Iberian, Argentine, and Brazilian top three, with Resende watching brief in P4.
You know, I was so gutted when Alonso couldn't win the championship back in the early 2010s. Yeah, you gotta know that. Miranda currently in third. He's going to try to... yeah, but yeah, they're all good drivers. Miranda currently in third, and he's going to have to try to find an overtaking opportunity because he's just lost his race lead to Ramos and Rago. So, well, I like to see how well Ramos will be able to hold on to his race lead, because he's also one of the fast drivers around. All of the drivers here are fast equally, and Rago is in second. Parabolica once more. The thing with Parabolica is that you have multiple racing lines. You can take multiple racing lines. So you can take a tight line. You can also take a wide line if you do come upon traffic. And that does seem to be Guinea, who's made another overtaking move. So he is one great driver who's overtaking. And it does seem like Gustavo Aria has climbed many positions up to 13th. And we've also got David Todt, who's gone up to 8th position. So we are now beginning the third lap of racing here, and Jackson Resende is now in fourth.
As we see a couple of comments coming in about Tamas. He's one of the best drivers in Veloce according to Rapid Casting, and we will buy that, especially after the qualifying session that he pulled off, where he upset the uppercut a bit, because it is his debut, by the way. We haven't seen Tamas Simon at all prior to this, so it's nice to see that a really fast debutant come through and just upset the uppercut, as one of the drivers slows a bit there. That's Kavler.
Someone's gone out.
Donella goes off. He gets sent out into Lesmo number 1, and probably he was helped on his way through. We'll probably get a replay of that in the inset pretty soon. But out of all that, Corentin Guinness is up to P5. So regardless of what car, he would still be able to wring the most out of it and just carve his way through up in front. Something that unfortunately Simon has found out that he has to do, and he hasn't been able to do so. He's still in P15, and look at that. That was Belzidi that actually hit the side of Donella. So gotta be a bit of one or two words from the Cara stewards after this, based on that particular instance. But first, all the way to, I think, Thomas Simon right at the back are still in the same frame. So it's still anybody's race here if someone were to break rank, Wei-Han.
Yeah, that would definitely be the case, Amir, but it does seem that Rago might have an overtaking opportunity down the main stretch here, because if we come so close with such a speed difference, an overtaking move is in order. So Ramos along the outside. So is he going to be able to outbrake Rago as they go into the first chicane? Yes, he does so! So Rago takes the line of advantage through the first chicane, and he makes the overtaking move work on Gerardo Ramos. So Rago climbs 3 positions to take the race lead, but they now go side by side down into Biasono, a place where you can really kind of go full throttle indeed through this part, and of course we just kind of run down to this Variante de la Rocha chicane. Rago, your new race there. Oh, there's someone's got around. There's Miranda who's got around. I think there might have been some contact, which kind of resulted in.
As well.
Yeah, I think it was. So that's unfortunate incident for Miranda. He's now out of contention. I was kind of banking on Miranda to kind of make something work. But at the same time, David Todt and Guinea have both climbed 7 positions to end up at their current position, and they're now so close indeed to the race, to the front runners of the race.
Yeah, look at Gustavo Ariel as well. He's made up a boatload of positions. 11 positions from P19. If you want to watch out for, if you can get up to the Fast 5 up in front here, what an absolute recovery drive from the World Championship rated driver. And it's right to point out that he had 10K iRating. He definitely was proving his worth there. And see what happens to Victor Miranda. And there you go, Resende up on the inside. Oh, that might have been a bit of net code, I would say.
Well, yeah, it's going to be difficult to avoid an incident, especially if you're breaking into a chicane. It's just the way it is sometimes when you're racing at a track like Monza. So Resende in 4th still. Seems to be some overtaking attempts there between 3rd and 2nd place drivers. So Guinea along the inside of Ramos. Oh, both drivers coming wheel to wheel. That was quite an intense action there. But also this one between Resende and Toth. I think Toth is giving Resende a bit of slipstream, but with these LMP2 cars, you can't really... It's going to be difficult to bump draft, but I don't know, apparently Toth is kind of making it work. Squeezing along the outside of the exit of Barcelona as they come upon that Roger again. And Toth takes 4th position and continues to sit in 4th position while Resende is down in 5th.
Yeah, wheel-arch contact there between Guinness and Ramos, but I don't think Guinness will mind that one bit. And he's going for something that we can be considering to be unthinkable. Imagine if he goes through with 2 triple crowns in the same day from 2 different championships, and that will be something, isn't it? But it is happening right now. Guinness versus Rago once again. We saw that previously, what happened before. Guinness overtook Rago and he went on his way to victory in Barcelona. Now he's going to do the same thing here in Monza. Good exit out of the Ascari chicane, then onto the back straight, heading to the Michele Alboreto Parabolica. He's on the inside. It looks as though he's got enough of momentum, but will he commit to it? The answer is, I would say yes, and it is. Guinness takes the lead from Rago. Rago didn't put up too much of a stern defense there. He knows full well that he needs to get back on the slipstream, but not doing like that, going very wide. With David Top now up to P3 as well in front of Rado Ramos. Belzidi, who might be in the eyes of the stewards after this, he's up at the back of Resende. Different battle packs forming, but you have to watch out as well because Gustavo Ariel is watching brief here. He will love to take the both of them if they were to come across it.
So that was a straight line overtaking attempt by Belzidi on Jackson Resende. He's made it work with the Porsche 963 livery, the Dallara LMP2 car. That's interesting. So Belzidi up in 5th. That was a very, very smart move indeed down the main stretch. So coming under a bit of pressure though, these drivers are. So Gustavo Ariel does not want to let this go easily, and that seems to be okay. That seems to be interesting. So that's an overtaking move between the 27 and 19 machines. So Ariel and Resende, both of them are teammates, but of course Ariel is, he is in many ways the apex predator of this whole race event right here, because he is in some ways he is a very fast driver indeed. So Ariel climbed 13 positions.
Yep, he's most famous driver a lot in terms of his iRating. He is one of the very few drivers to have 10,000 in his locker, and he's up to P5 now. You can see a bit of a slight nod when he overtook his teammate Resende there, because I think that was pre-planned. They might have been on the same voice chat to say, yep, thank you for that. Obrigado. Oh, there goes Belzidi off wide, and that's then Valera into the gravel and grass outside of Ascari. Probably unintentional there because Belzidi was overtaken, but then forced out wide, also forcing Guy Valera out wide as well. That really was the Constantina effect, and that nearly caused everybody to just check up and crash into each other, but that didn't happen. It might just still be going on here for a lot of these guys outside of the rostrum positions. It is all still very finely tuned here between all these guys.
Yep, amazing stuff indeed. And of course, when you're racing at Monza, it is also an overtaking galore if you know how to be at the right place at the right time. So that's an overtaking move between 2 cars right there. That was between Belzidi and Valero. They went side by side into the first chicane, I believe. Pedro Moura, we are riding with. He's coming under quite a fair bit of pressure from Thomas Simon. So as one of the commenters have noted, yes, Thomas Simon did set a fastest lap time, but overtaking is also just as important of a job as pure paces when you're racing. So I think overtaking is an area that Thomas Simon will have to continue working on if he wants to have a good shot at the front few positions in the race. Facundo Rago continues to lead David Toth, of course Toth being the other driver from Team Veloci. He's currently in 3rd, and he's going to probably think of an overtaking opportunity against Facundo Rago as they take on the 3rd sector here at Monza. Got a good pole there along the entry of Variante Ascari, and this is Toth who's kind of got a good run, and he will think of an overtaking move along the backstretch, which he definitely does so. So Toth is now gone up to 2nd position with Facundo Rago down to 3rd as they make their way around Curva Parabolica.
Final lap then, white flag's been waved. David Toth and Facundo Rago are still batting out because he's still in that slipstream, Rago. He goes onto the inside, looks a bit of a dink, but I think he'll have to tuck it back here into the Rettifilio. He didn't want to risk taking both of them out in a very promising position, as Gustavo Ariel then might have actually, according to one of the guys in the comments, drink a passing potion. That's actually quite something, isn't it? You say passion fruit, but then this is passing potion. really potent stuff then. He really has been motoring up through the field, and he is just on the cusp of getting a podium. There's a battle for P8 between Mora and Simon. So Simon has been slowly and steadily making his way up through the field, and he makes yet another position. He goes out to P8, so he'll be right in the middle of the top 15 then, come race heat number 2. So he'll be starting closer up to the front than he is right now in heat number 1. But what's for sure, driver of the day, we were to have any, has to go to Gustavo Ariel. Really good recovery drive, carving his way through the field, just on the cusp of the rostrum. In fact, he is on the tail of Corrado Ramos. There we can see on the top left of the picture. He will try to come through the Ascari chicane. Does he make it? No, he's still right behind Ramos. There he is. Good job from the cameraman to pick that one up in time, but he'll have to send one more time into the Michele Alboreto Parabolica. He is in the slipstream, a bit of a long way behind though, I would say. And no, he looked for a dink, didn't come through. Ramos goes narrow, manages to hold on to it. It might be a drag race up to the line, but up in front, Corentin Guinness wins his 3rd consecutive heat in a row. That is an absolutely brilliant drive, but photo finish across the line, and Ramos just holds on by 600ths of a second in front of Ariel. Tough and Ralgard of our sides also finished in 2nd and 3rd. Resende in 6th. Kulhavi, Simon with a recovery drive as well up to P8. Mora 9, Valero 10, Belzidi, Gaspar, Dean, in fact the second Dean as well is there, 13th and 14th, and João Paulo running out the top 15. He'll be on pole position for heat number 2. Weihan, what a brilliant race, and I thought prototypes was gonna be a bit more sprung out, but it is a very close race.
With these prototypes, you kind of have a whole new style of racing, because these cars are really aero reliant. Slipstream makes quite a huge bit of a difference, and it definitely showed with the style of racing that we've had here at Monza, and it definitely went well for most of the drivers. So your BenQ session winner for Heat 1 here at Monza, AMX 10 Race 31, is of course Corentin Guinness with David Toth in 2nd and Facundo Rago in 3rd. Gerardo Ramos and Gustavo Ariel in 4th and 5th. And we've also got Jackson Resende in 6th, Gaston Kulhavi in 7th, Thomas Simon in 8th, Pedro Moura in 9th, and Gael Valero will round off your top 10 finishers. So what is Guinea doing? Interesting, it's probably stretching in preparation for the 2nd heat. What this does mean is that João Paulo will start from the front row later on right now in the 2nd heat indeed, and Pedro Dean will start from 2nd.
So heat number 2 then, and the final heat of the day in race number 31 for AMX 10, and indeed the AMX races here today. We have been treated to an absolutely delightful set of races, and we are gonna be running off here with one more blast through the park here, as what Weihan mentioned, around Monza, in just outside of Milan, but still the Templar Speed has provided some really good action, and we're gonna go here for one more time. There's the grid on your screen coming through. All 29 drivers have, or in fact, 29 drivers that started the previous race are back here for the 2nd race. And for William Dini and Victor Carvalho, they're gonna have to work their way up through the field from 28 and 29. It's easier said than done, and it was quite a tall order for Guinness as well when he was starting from P14. Now he has to do it in P15. Yes, an extra position behind, but he still has to carve his way through again. And he's done so today 3 times. Would he do it a 4th time and become a double winner? Remember, it's not a triple crown because he was beaten to pole position, so it would have been a double triple crown if that was the case. But he will have to go out with a big bang here with 2 wins. Again, Weihan, what's your predictions?
Oh, it's a tough call. I mean, just now I think some of our predictions didn't really come through. Of course, I did root for Guinea for some part, and he definitely did well. But at the same time, it's also worth considering that we do have a good roster of drivers here. So, can we see a Gustavo Ariel kind of make it up top this time? Because I think he's made a good overtaking attempt earlier on, but it will be green flag once again very soon. It is green flag now from the perspective of Corentin Guinness, and let's see if Guinness is going to be able to make the overtaking move. Well, right as green flag drops, yes, I think he goes side by side alongside Rago, cleared off the overtaking move indeed, and Gaspar also made an overtaking move up to 3rd position from 4th. So they now come upon the first chicane another time, always a difficult corner to go through. And someone's taken the exit escape route. That's someone who's made a mistake earlier on, and he had to kind of take the escape route in order to not plow into traffic. But all good nonetheless. It seems to be a much cleaner start than the first heat, Amir, and all the drivers have made it through safely.
Indeed, and I think that was Rafael Casacorta. He's normally in the one of the more outlandishly pink-colored cars. He had to take the escape route, and a couple of drivers further behind as well, including, I think, for Rago. Rago is actually out of it for this particular heat, so unfortunately for him, he's, despite being in the high of P2 last time out, he's going to have to go for the lows here for this next heat, as, 29 drivers coming through the first few sectors cleanly. And in prototypes that are actually much bigger than the smaller cars that they drove just now in the Porsche Cup cars around Barcelona. That is a very good job from everybody involved. Now we get to the nitty-gritty. We're getting to the action straight away. And on board now with two World Championship rated drivers, Gao Valero and Thomas Simon. This is what the crowd had come to see. Two really fast guys going at it at the front. And the first order of business is to try to get Kyle Gaspar out of the way. Then they can set their sights on João Paulo up in front. Oh boy, it's only the end of lap number 1. But we're already in on it straight away. And the sea of cars, the gaggle of cars that go all the way to Victor Miranda, top 15 are in the same shot after the end of lap 1. Now we're in business.
Most certainly we are. So Gao Valero had a good showing in the first heat, so we could also expect similar performance by Valero as we come to the second heat. Valero currently sits in third. He's climbed a couple of positions where he started from. Thomas Simon as well has climbed an additional number of positions from where he started. He's currently sitting in fourth. So João Paulo fighting it hard, well so far up top. He's fending off Kyle Gaspar and a whole chain of fast drivers from second and third onwards. So we'll have a look and see if Thomas Simon will be able to make an overtaking move work. So remember, Simon qualified the fastest, and as a result, he is definitely a driver with the pace, and he might be able to pull something off here, given that he's now starting all the way up front. So Simon currently in fourth. He might try to think of an overtaking move within the next couple of corners. He has to if he wants a good shot at finishing well much further up in the race, if he wants the shot at the race win.
Yep, and he's behind Valero only by a couple of tenths, who in turn is behind only 5/10 of a second to Kyle Gaspar. Gaspar has actually reeled in João Paulo, so the two Brazilians up front are either going to be working together, or Gaspar might want to line up one for a pass, because remember, they were to bump off each other, working together with the slipstream. They can pull ever so slightly away, but Valero is also in that slipstream zone. 37.6 for Gaspar, so the slipstream has paid up for him. He's got the fastest lap of the race and the extra $5 that come with it. But thanks onto the inside, Paulo goes narrow and prevents his fellow Brazilian from overtaking, with Valero now much closer than he was before, because both of them started battling, and Thomas Simon as well, just watching brief from all three of them, with Pedro Dean right behind also catching up. The battle up in front is much closer than it was in the first race. The field absolutely very strong here. The SOF is definitely quite high, as coming into the Retifilio for the Della Roja for the third time, and looks as though Gaspar has lost out big time. 4 positions now. Belzini comes through as well, so he had an absolutely shocking exit there.
Yeah, it's great stuff indeed. So Gao Valero now in second position. Thomas Simon made his way up to the third position as well, so that's definitely great performance by the front runners at this point. So we are into lap 3 of racing. We do have a 12-car train. Yes, indeed, we do have a 12-car train. Yeah, all the drivers are kept so close together indeed. So that definitely is testament to how well these drivers are performing. So João Paulo continues to lead the race, but you can tell if you were sitting in João Paulo's car, I think you'll be quite frightened by the sheer number of cars behind you. So he's trying his best to fend off traffic. With Valero along the outside of the Parabolica, will he be able to make an overtaking move work? Well, he does go even closer for slipstream. Didn't manage to make an overtaking move work along the exit of the Parabolica, but he might think of swinging out wide. So Paulo takes the defensive inside line to go for the entry into the first chicane. Valero edges out along the outside. Both of them almost touch side by side, but now Valero has line of the advantage, so he moves up to first position. So Valero, your new race leader, with Thomas Simon who dangles by in second, and Joao Paulo, who's just been moved down to third.
Yeah, Joao Paulo actually, if he was to be a bit braver there coming to braking zone, he might try to outbrake Valero coming into it so he could defend the line, but he would risk locking up and going off. So he had the advantage of being on the inside, but unfortunately not enough of momentum to keep the lead. As further behind, there's a bit of a contact there with Gaspar and Guinness with Top as well coming through. So with a few drivers breaking rank, that might actually split up the big group that we had before all the way to P15, where Miranda was the one that held up positions. Now, 1 or 2 battle packs have actually been formed with the first group of drivers, top 4, Valero, Simon, Paolo, and Dean, going away from the likes of Fabrizio Belzidi and, crucially, Gustavo Ariel, we were touting to do the business as well here, is still clawing his way through the field, but he's just a couple of seconds behind the real position that he really wants to be in, behind the likes of Thomas Simon and Gal Valero, the 2 other World Championship rated drivers. We will have a trio of them up in front if Ariel was to be able to pass Belzidi and Dean and Paolo. For the time being though, Gal Valero leads a lap here across the line. We're on to the final half of this heat, and what an absolute cooker that we have so far here. It is building up quite nicely to a great crescendo.
Well, we do also have some amazing sights of the long train of cars in these. So these cars are keeping very closely with each other indeed, and you know, it's always a good thing to see. It's always a good thing to see because it means that exciting racing will still be in order throughout the race. So with the screen perspective that we have on at the bottom right, there is a battle for 6th position, and as you would have just recalled, some intense overtaking moves happening right there. So that actually is just taking place a couple of cars behind what we have here front and center. Pedro Dean along the outside of Joao Paulo, the move for 3rd position across the Lesbos, making it work well. Dean continues along, and his next job is to close up the gap with Thomas Simon. So because in this race, Thomas Simon is started up front and he's managed to hold his position well. So I think we might see Thomas Simon continue to hold on to this and have perhaps a good result. And as we just say that, there seems to be an overtaking move by, I think, yes, this is between Toth and Guinness. So Guinness, who did try to make an overtaking move on Toth. So at this point, I think it seems like Guinness, compared to the previous session, Guinness doesn't seem to have climbed as many positions as he did in the previous race. But we still have half race worth of distance to go, and both Guinness and Toth will have to continue focusing on overtaking cars if they want a good shot at taking the podium positions. We continue with Belziti, who's defending his 5th position. It's exactly the position where he started from a very fast apex predator known as Gustavo Ariel.
Yep, and Ariel, though, has not been able to make out the positions in the last couple of laps. He's still behind Belzidi, but he is much closer this time. He is able to reel in Belzidi and Joao Paulo, because Joao Paulo just now, of course, broke rank as well because he had to possibly go off a bit because of a penalty that he had to serve, and that allowed the other drivers behind to come much closer. There is Corentin Guinness behind David Toth. So Toth has got in front of his fellow big fish rival right in front. They wanted to get rid of him quickly as well because he can get up to the back of the other guys. But the battle lines have been drawn here. There's Guinness actually overtaking Toth, so Toth probably had a penalty too from cutting the corners slightly. And now it's a separate battle pack here. 1st and 2nd are on their own. They're going to be in their own slipstream battle. 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and all the way to 8th are in their own battle pack here. So the final position on the rostrum still on the cards for any one of these guys, as is being held currently by Pedro Dean, but he's got Joao Paulo at least for a buffer because Joao Paulo is now holding up Belzidi behind, and behind that Porsche livery LMP2 is Gustavo Ariel. So Ariel then, again, watching brief, biding his time a bit, waiting for the right opportunity, which is now, and he gets through around the outside. Belzidi just lights up the rear tires just a bit, and it's enough for him to get through. It's a fast slide, but that's another invitation for Ariel to come, and now he is ready to set his sights here on the penultimate lap for the podium.
So Ariel on the hunt for positions indeed. So Ariel definitely has climbed 6 positions. Guinness has climbed 9 positions, so we do have a Guinness who wants more after completing after what has been an exciting past couple of heats racing here today at AMX. But of course, this session at least, I think Guinea is kind of feels like he's running out of steam a little bit. He's probably trying his best to overtake as many cars as possible, but we've only got 2 laps of racing to go, so it will be up to Guinea to decide how many more cars he wants to overtake. Currently sitting in 6th. Well, not his fault. In front of Guinea is Gustavo Ariel, who is the fastest driver. So, that's going to be quite a tough job for Guinea if he wants to face off with Ariel or any of the drivers in front. So, Gustavo Ariel along the backstretch, one of the back stretches on the run down to Ascari. So, he's going to have to take the outside. Banging wheels there, going side by side into Ascari, but saves it and makes the overtaking move work. Go for 4th position. Excellent driving by Ariel and great driving also by Paulo to hold it off well together. And at the same time, Guinea has made the move for 5th position work. And now it is a situation where Ariel has made his way up to 4th position as they all come upon Parabolica. Some more overtaking moves work. Yeah, that seems to be David Toth who's made the overtaking move work on João Paulo.
Ariel saved that one. That looked like he was going to go off. He was on the grass for a second, being pushed off by Dean. Somehow, as by Paulo, somehow manages to make the corner still. That's why he is one of the highest rated drivers on the field. And we got 3 of them in a row here with Ariel, Guinness, and Toth all aiming for the podium on the final lap. Valero out of our sight starts the final lap here 6/10 ahead of Simon, but Pedro Dean is the guy who's really going to be hot under the cosh here with really fast guys right behind him. If he holds up, he will definitely be taking that story all the way to a few generations to come, I'm pretty sure. But what a final couple laps that we're going to have here. And we're on to the final lap now with just a few tenths of a second separating the first 2 drivers. This is going to be a grandstand finish. It's going to be a photo finish to the line between Valero and Simon. We'll have to wait and see. They're on the final sector here. Simon is faster than Valero. We're coming up now to the crucial sector, the last 2 breaking points of the entire circuit here, Wei Han.
Yes, we have an absolutely fast Gustavo Ariel who's done everything right this race to be sitting on the pole position, or rather to be leading the race at this point. But it's not over until the checker flag waves, and it is Thomas Simon who will definitely try everything possible to go for an overtaking move, if at all possible, down the Parabolica. So Gal Valero continues to hold on to the race lead. He still has the advantage here because he is up front. The gap between both drivers still sit around 0.2 of a second. So if nothing goes wrong, the drivers will come across start-finish line, and the race win goes to Gal Valero by just a hair's margin, and Thomas Simon comes home in 2nd position, very close by indeed. Pedro Dean leads the rest of the drivers to come home in 3rd, and Gustavo Ariel comes home in 4th. Correte Guinea, great driving as well, he comes home in 5th, and David Toth, who's followed along very well as well, will finish the race in 6th position. João Paulo from Fabrizio Belciti come home in 7th and 8th. And oh, that seemed to be some intense action there. But otherwise, it's been an excellent second heat of racing here at Monza.
Wow. Might need to take a few breaths after that one. That was amazing. The final heat really delivered. Probably the best of the lot, I would say. But moment of the entire race has to go to Gustavo Ariel with what could possibly be the save of the entire season. We thought he was going to go up because he was really pushed out way onto the grass, but managed to sling his way through the corner at Ascari, just around the outside, kept it on the black stuff, and on his way to just outside the podium, yes, against Pedro Dean, but to make no mistake, a valiant drive, the most heroic of the lot. That was definitely one for the replays to take away from for the rest of the season, I'm pretty sure. Oh, final results then. Valero, 0.2 of a second. It was a grandstand finish, but unfortunately Simon just didn't have enough laps to get up to the back of the Frenchman, but he'll be happy to take a 2nd place for this one. Pedro Dean in 3rd. Gustavo Ariel with, once again, we have to mention that, an absolutely barnstorming save. One of the most amazing pieces of driving I've ever seen on iRacing before, bar none. Corin Guinness in 5th. Tough in 6th, in front of João Paulo, who was up on the podium at one point, but his defense broke in the final couple of laps. In front of Fabrizio Belzidi, Kaya Gaspar, and Vinicius Dean, your top 10. With the rest of the field, Resende, Mora, Lozano, Kulhavi, and Eliseu, the last of the point scorers here today. But take a breath, take a bow for some of these guys. They have shown absolutely amazing racecraft here today. Oh, Wei Han, What can you say after that?
Well, this was 10 out of 10 excellent racing that we've just witnessed here, ladies and gentlemen. And it's all because of the drivers who've managed to pull it off exceptionally well. You know, it's a great balance of aggressive yet clean racing for the most part. And if there's anything, I think it's a good sign that racing here definitely delivers good results, and certainly excellent racing indeed. I mean, it's you know it's fulfilling watching this kind of racing, and I hope it's been the case for you as well.
Indeed, and it really was edge of your seat stuff, wasn't it? Yeah, we're not driving, man. I have the wheel right in front of me. It was just like, it was clutching it a bit. I just feel like I wanted to be one of these guys to just try and help them correct any of the accidents. And Gustavo Ariel's one was no less the case, where you just feel like, oh, can he make it? Can he make it? He just about did. And
I have a
thank
wheel
God
here
for
as
that.
well.
That was, again, amazing piece of driving. And I thought, well, he was gonna go up there. It's definitely going to be one for the highlight reel for sure, and for some of the short form content that's going to be released afterwards. But for sure, we're going to have some of the guys who are involved in that race being interviewed, and we're looking through our Discord right now and see who is on offer, because they're all in the Parc Fermé room right now. Let's see then. Well, I think it's fair to say we're going to have one of the fast guys involved, and Thomas Simon is going to be up. So without further ado, we'll try to bring him on board pretty soon right now as we head into the interview. Alright then, first of the interviews that we have today is the driver that was pretty much one of the fan favorites because his name was mentioned quite a few times in the comments for Veloce Esports. Thomas Simon. It's Simon, isn't it? Or is it Simon?
I like Simon, but it's actually Simon.
Simon, okay, so the Hungarian way of saying it. Now then, welcome aboard. We'd love to have you on board, especially given the fact of your
Thank you.
rating and it's increasing the SOF. But take us
Thank
through
you.
your qualifying first. How tense was it to just be only a few hundredths of a second ahead of the rest of the field? It might have been a very tense qualifying session for you.
Yes, it was. Fortunately, my first lap was pretty good, and I had a bit of slipstream from David, so that was enough to qualify on pole.
Indeed. David Toff, of course, your fellow countryman, helped you out big time in that
Yes.
particular instance. But take us through your first race. First heat, we call it heat here, of course, for the races. But it looked as though that it was a bit of a tricky situation for you to get up through the field, especially that you have equally fast guys in front. How difficult was it to overtake here at Monza, you reckon?
Yeah, well, first of all, I had a pretty bad start, so I think I lost a few positions. And of course, when everyone has a draft, it's a bit difficult to make progress.
Indeed, and of course, it kind of balances each other out given the fact it's the exact same cars, no difference in power. But in that instance, were you thinking more of race the second heat after that because you kind of felt that probably you couldn't go any further up? Was that the case, or you had more pace in you in that first heat?
Yeah, my first objective was to survive, because I knew that, of course, there would be the reverse grid, so even if I am P8, that's not the end of the world.
And indeed, it proved quite well as well because you were battling with Valero up in front. And tell us a bit about the racecraft between you two because, of course, you're going to have to work together with the fast guys as well. But again, was the pace there as well to take the victory, or was Guile able to just gap you a bit in that final few laps?
Yeah, I think pace was okay, but I made some mistakes in the chicanes, and I fell behind 0.8, 0.9. So yeah, that's why I couldn't catch him fast enough.
Indeed. And to round off this particular interview, will you be back for the last few races of the season, given the fact that we're now coming to the end of the end of the season?
Yeah, definitely. I will be racing this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, and probably a few more races this season.
Awesome. And any final words to give out to your team or anybody that you are rooting for, you know, your sponsors and whatnot?
Yeah, of course. Thank you to my team, Veloce, and thank you to David for the slipstream.
Indeed. And shout out as well to the rest of the other Veloce guys who are watching this, and of course the rest of Hungary if they're watching as well. Thanks for coming aboard, and we'll see you in future races, Tamas.
Thank you. See you guys.
Right then, second of the interviews that we have today, and it's one that we are definitely wanting to ask as well. Valero, the driver who was at the sharp end of the grid. Once again, congratulations on a very well-earned victory. And it looks as though, in this particular instance, it was actually relatively easy for you, isn't it? Given the fact that you had quite a strong qualifying in the first part, but then first heat didn't really go up to how you like it, but that set you up quite nicely for heat number 2. So before we go into that, take us through how qualifying went for you, because it looked quite tight at the front.
Thank you for the good message. Qualifying was fine, I guess. I did a nice couple of first sectors. On this track specifically, you need to be quite aggressive with the track limit, but obviously you get punished very easily and you don't really know quite clearly where is it, but I had some very good lines. Obviously I was just below Tamas, I think, or was it who was on
Tamas by about 900s.
Yeah, I saw he had the draft from his colleague David, so unfair, but we'll take it. After that, I will never say it's easy to win ahead of these guys. One mistake and he was right back in it. And even race 1 was quite tricky. I had one incident that put me 4 or 5 places back, and obviously that would have changed race 2 since I wouldn't have started at the same position. So yeah, sadly never easy now. Too many people defending. Let me through.
Certainly, and it's kind of like what adds the extra spice to the races, given the fact that you had to start further behind because of qualifying. But since heat number 1 didn't really turn out well for you, you really made the most of it in heat number 2, would you? Because you went up to the front almost straight away. Because this is conversely what happens when you're in the draft. How difficult was it to defend against someone with the draft, especially someone like Tamas right behind you, really coming in fast?
I didn't get to defend once. It's the nice thing. And he gets to benefit from my attacks because he jumped up with me. The real first attack was actually on the rolling start. If you're quite in front, you can see the starting car, and that's your true jump. And all the cars behind that car actually don't have the same vision as you do. So on a track like Monza, when you have a big straight, it's quite important to look at the car, at the starting car, not the car in front of you necessarily, but the car that is actually making the start in allows me to directly jump one position, and after that, good positioning, good timings. Thankfully, no defending.
And certainly it was a bit of a tense finish, but I think probably a very satisfying win for you. Are you going to join the next few races as well, given the fact that we're coming to the close of the season?
Probably join a couple, not all of them.
Right.
It's easy.
Busy, yeah. And any final words for this particular instance, especially given the fact that you had quite a good banging battle with some of the other drivers? What message would you like to leave off before we let you go?
Thanks for all the drivers that race with us. Obviously, I had a couple of incidents with them, but never in bad faith. So I'm thankful that we understand all of us as racers and that we all do mistakes. I have been through a couple of bad patches. I apologize as soon as I make the mistake. Yeah, thankful that everyone is taking in quite nicely.
And thankfully for all of us in the broadcast team and the fans who are watching, it was an absolutely great couple of races that we had, especially in AMX 10. And thank you for being a part of it. And also congratulations once again on the victory. Très bien, and au revoir.
Wow. Congratulations. Thank you, Amir.
Well, that was a bit of French that I had to use for that one. But still, the best way to finish off was the fact that it was a very close finish in both races. And to say that it was amazing was an understatement. We could actually just use the entire plethora of English thesaurus words to describe that one. But I think to finish it off, it has to be, it has to be the final race, wasn't it? We saw amazing passing, amazing saves, and a barnstorming finish. Before we go back to Wei Han, we're gonna have to go through the top 10 results here as per tradition now, because we get to see the total number of points, Wei Han. So there they are. In fact, Wei Han, you can run through this.
Yes, so your Race 31 top 10 winners for AMX 10. You, of course, getting the best outcomes from racing here. Thomas Simon walks away with $75 in the pocket. And we've also got Gal Valero, who got 73, and Quentin Guinea, who's got $72 thus far. David Toth, Pedro Dean, $62 and $44 respectively. And also drivers Gustavio Ariel, Caio Gaspar, Jackson Resende, Gaston Colavi, and Fabrizio Belciti. These drivers have also varying amounts of earnings from $44 downwards to $27. So it is definitely a great outcome for drivers here.
Certainly. And, well, for Simon, first day on the job, and it's $75 earned. Really nice way to do business for today for him, and glad to see that we're going to see at least some of them towards the close of the season. And really then, it's quite a shame that we're on the tail end of it. We're not going to see any more of this, at least until the foreseeable future. But what we can see for the foreseeable future is the Instagram below, Twitch, Twitter, Discord, YouTube, website, and the TikToks. All the social links for AMX Global are right there for you, especially given the fact you can interact some of these drivers via the Discord, and you can see some of the funny memes or some of the interesting interactions we have with these guys. We really enjoy being around a great community of drivers, and hopefully it will still go on into the future. What do you think, Wei Han?
Yes, well, so we've got quite a handful of race days to go, left to go here at AMX. I think we've got 2 weeks worth of racing still to go. What that means is we've still got plenty of opportunities to see these drivers fight it out. Fast drivers, skilled drivers, all of them alike, they're all good drivers, and I think that's the best part of observing all of these races here at AMX, and I think it's definitely something that we should all look forward to with the next 2 weeks of racing to come.
Absolutely, and that's pretty much the best way to close out our broadcast here today. So without further ado, from me, Amir, and from Wei Han, it's goodbye for now, and we'll see you for the next batch of races this coming weekend. And after that, it will be the closing to the entire season that we have absolutely thoroughly enjoyed. But for now, it's goodbye.